Rockstar, I think, is charging way too little for this game. No, they should be charging like $200 for this game.
I know.
GTA 6 is like the last great game.
It's easy to look at those remarks that came from a tech analyst just the other day as this outlier example, but the reality is that many in this gaming industry, especially many that don't care about this gaming industry, this is what they were calling for with Grand Theft Auto 6. The Wall Street folks, they wanted the game to be $100. They wanted it to set a new standard. And GTA 6 still is really $100. If you want the full version of the game, it is $100, and there's no physical edition and all of that, but for many of the Wall Street folks, that wasn't good enough. But the reality is that these individuals are driving this industry into the ground. And a lot of the decisions, a lot of the chaos that we are seeing is because of this growth that is getting out of control, and it's ruining so many of these studios, so many of these developers that we used to love. And Rockstar Games, even right now, there's all sorts of signs that GTA Online, whatever the next one is, be very worried with how much they're going to be pushing their subscription services and their shark cards. The latest stuff happening with GTA Online is a great example of that, in which they're nerfing tons of the previous heists and all of that. It's just created a lot of concern. And the problem is that concern is not just isolated to Grand Theft Auto Online. It seems like every single studio, every single developer in this industry is facing some sort of chaos similar to this. And that's why over the last couple of weeks, we've just been hearing constant people saying the games industry is crashing, or the games industry needs to crash. There's just countless of tweets, especially after what Sony did with their decision to stop physical production and kill off the secondhand market. It was a disgusting gut punch that the AAA games industry was finally turning their back on gamers. What I have to say to that is that this has been going on for a while now. In the last couple of weeks of events happening in this gaming industry, like, people have been concentrating rightfully on Grand Theft Auto and PlayStation, but there's been much more going on in between. News stories that didn't get the attention that it deserved, and it just shows that this gaming industry is right now burning to the ground. Some say that may be good, some might believe that this is going to get far worse. I am kind of in the latter territory, and I think that there's a lot of symptoms to what is happening right now. But ultimately, these are the perspectives that people have had lately. The exact same conditions of the industry getting so much worse with expensive games and market saturation led to the video game crash of 1983. So it's only right that every game company gets nostalgic and tries to do a modern Unreal Engine 5 remake of it. On a serious note, this is super depressing with the price hikes of tech, AAA games potentially increasing to $80, and the mass layoffs all around. The idea of another industry crash is becoming dangerously real. And the tweets go on and on and on, sharing similar perspectives. But when I look to the landscape of this gaming industry, especially on the AAA front, I look to, it just feels like a content machine. And what I mean by that is a lot of the ideas and the innovation that fueled this gaming industry in the early 2000s is completely gone. You see that happening in the indie space, but the reality is when you're spending 7 years on every game, they're multi-$100-million projects, a lot of them are going to find the easy lane. But when they don't, the only risk-averse projects tend to be the live service wet dreams of money-hungry executives. And ultimately, what that is looking at Grand Theft Auto Online, Fortnite, and trying to model that into their games. And we've seen how that has destroyed so many different publishers and studios with those just, well, let's be honest, they're dumbass investments. But recently, Sean Layden, former PlayStation boss, opened up about how these decisions are negatively affecting this gaming industry. He said, "We've lost a lot of the variety in games, and we can thank the rising cost of new titles for that. We had so many crazy games on the PS1. He further pointed out an observation he made at a Game Awards show a couple of years ago, an observation that many of us have had. There's so many games that looked like the game next to it and looked like the game next to it. I'm concerned that in today's world, quirky games like Parappa the Rapper don't get made anymore. I think we've lost a lot of the variety in games that are out there. We have this one's a looter shooter, and this one's a hero shooter, this one's an extraction shooter, shooter. We have mountains of those, but where's the next Katamari Damacy? And the honest-to-God truth is, citing the examples that he gave, is that they're just not financially beneficial enough. That's the thing with many of these publishers. They're looking at projects, spending amount of money on these games, and they realize if they're going to spend 3-4 years on a game, they need to make X amount of money. And if games are only going to have limited interest, it's just not worth that investment these days, especially when many people people are becoming a little bit more wise when it comes to spending their money. And I say that because you have stories like this. 60% of playtime in 2023 went to 6-year-old or older games, new data shows. It's not like these individuals are just playing Skyrim and Fallout New Vegas. No, these people are playing the live service games that came out a decade ago. Those games that continue to get updates, and they take up a massive portion of the online gaming audience. And the problem is that we continue to see more and more live services produced for audiences that don't exist. They don't want to move away from GTA Online. They don't want to move past Fortnite and Call of Duty. I guess what I'm trying to say is that for every one success story, we've had a couple over the last couple of years, Arc Raiders last year, before that Helldivers 2, and there's more. But the thing is, for every one of those success stories, there's another 10 live services that came about, they shut down within a couple of weeks, and millions of dollars were poured into those projects. Millions that could have been poured into just tons of other smaller, unique projects, and really actually fueled growth in this industry. The problem is that this gaming industry has just turned its back on that. They don't care about that because it's all about aiming for the moon with these new projects. And I think the big consequence with that is that you're seeing generations just not interested in games like they used to be. Like, you'll have reports like this, 2025, more than 60% of US game players only buy 2 games or fewer per year. That's a problem, especially because people look at their Call of Duty and Fortnite, they'll buy one of those and maybe a new AAA title. Maybe they'll buy Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, but that's it. Back in the day, that wasn't how people were purchasing games because there was just so much variety, so many different options, unique experiences, which are largely absent these days outside of the indie space. And then you have this report, an overwhelming majority of PC gamers prefer older video games. That's an updated story from 2025. But the actual growth that's happening from the gaming industry, this is not going to shock anybody, but it's fucking Roblox. It's Roblox. People are calling it the new Netflix for earlier this year. Gaming platform nears 10 billion monthly hours. Roblox fueled 67% of global gaming growth, capturing 4.5% of total consumer spending. That is just enormous. And I think what needs to be understood about statistics like this, and the ones I just brought up, it's that you have the younger generation that are pivoting to just experiences like Roblox. That is what they're focused on. And the gaming industry doesn't benefit from that because people aren't going to be buying $70 games. They're going to be playing whatever user-generated content that is going to be featured on there. And then you have the other gamers, maybe the more older generations, maybe our generation, maybe even older, but they're not buying games as much anymore because the options just aren't as good. And you can talk about the various reasons for that. You can talk about the lack of variety. You can talk about the live service nonsense that people are getting exhausted by. You can also talk about the fact that many people are just fine with the games that they already have, and the growing backlogs that many already have as well. All of that should sound off alarms, red flags. Our gaming industry going in the wrong way fast, especially in the AAA side. But then there is more with that, because there is a consequence when you're not having growth like the gaming industry used to have, is that the existing player bases, well, these companies have to make fucking money, so they're going to throw more microtransactions, more monetization schemes on players, and that's exactly what we've seen over the course of the last number of years, and it is only getting worse. Like, this story from late June is one that a lot of people didn't know about, but it's really kind of concerning. It's a studio like From Software. People love the experiences that they put out. They invented pretty much the Souls genre, so many different games imitating them. Well, guess what? Their publisher is facing pressure as shareholders are pushing to remove the CEO over Elden Ring concerns. Those concerns pretty much are is that Elden Ring didn't make enough money for them. Yes, the billions of dollars that was printed is not enough for these investors. And as it said here, Natsuno, who has led the company since 2021 and is being criticized for the group's declining profitability. Kadakawa's board of directors has defended him in the past, arguing that removing him would create uncertainty at a time when the company is trying to carry out several reforms. And then this is where it gets into the activist investors that are going after them. The situation has become more difficult because Hong Kong-based Oasis Management is now Kadakawa's largest shareholder, holding 13.76% stake. One of the fund's main criticisms concerns the commercial management of Elden Ring. And again, it's just because they didn't make enough money. They were upset about their partnership with Bandai Namco in the past. Oasis has also gained support from two major shareholder advisory firms. Institutional Shareholder Services released a report recommending that shareholders support the proposal, stating, while it may take time to find a replacement for Natsuno, this is a challenge worth accepting. And then Glass Lewis, a major proxy advisor, has also recommended voting against the reappointment of the current CEO. Now, I understand Kadakawa covers a lot of other different things. It's not just like the From Software publisher and such, but still, If they replace this CEO, they're going to bring somebody in that's going to be more money focused. And that's kind of how all of this always goes. It's going to be bringing in another vulture, somebody who's even more cutthroat than the last. That's a concern with From Software and their titles to be, because that pushes developers out and that changes the landscape of the game developer. And that's where soul can be lost. And I'm not saying that they're going to turn into Ubisoft tomorrow or they're going to be pushing Ubisoft like microtransactions, but when they're upset that Elden Ring didn't make enough money, that is just, it sets off alarms. And speaking of greed happening in this AAA games industry, we have the recent events that have happened with Activision and their Call of Duty Black Ops ports that were brought onto PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, costing $40 each and do not include any DLC. You have to buy that separately. Obviously, PlayStation Plus subscribers get a little bit of a deal, but this is embarrassing. There's no new content. It's not like a remaster or anything. They're just selling 13-year-old games at what I view as a premium price. And the funny thing is, within days, they were overrun with hackers and cheaters. Obviously, Activision has put out a couple statements saying they're going to try to work on those, but this is embarrassing. And this is what this gaming industry is all about, and when you eliminate a secondhand market, these prices for these games, especially in the future with this nonsense, it's only going to get worse and worse. And then there's also Electronic Arts. When they aren't killing studios, they're killing games, as we just got the confirmation the other day that Need for Speed is in fact dead and Criterion Games is just solely focused on Battlefield. But even when they're doing stuff like that, they're also pissing off the sporting world by pushing more and more monetization. This was a big story that didn't get enough attention with what they tried with College Football 27, which is trying to implement microtransactions that are similar to what happens in the NBA 2K games. That's probably the best way to describe it, but yes, they faced enormous backlash for trying to throw microtransactions into their Road to Glory and Dynasty modes. They faced enough backlash that they actually pulled things back. But the statement that they gave out definitely gave an indication that this is not over. This is a fight that they want, and they're going to continue to push this stuff. And ultimately, though, they left these modes because they removed the microtransactions. They have created a problem, and they were trying to sell a solution, but now the problem still is there, and they're not doing anything about the problem. You see, in prior installments of college football, the last couple, people had more control over the single-player features. You could earn XP with different sliders and such. People like those features. EA removed it because it's not monetarily enough for them. When they had their competitor has a single-player component of sorts with My Career, and they force microtransactions in that, they're wondering, why aren't we doing that for our Madden and EAFC and all of that? Why aren't we doing that? So they tried doing that with College Football 27, faced enormous backlash, and now people are calling for those previous single-player features, the XP sliders and all that to return. EA doesn't want to do that, because if they do that, then that's going to prevent them from, in years to come, to eventually again try microtransactions in a different fashion. EA didn't apologize for introducing microtransactions here. If you look at their statement, they only apologized for not being more transparent about it beforehand, which should, again, get people extremely concerned with, again, another sports franchise that's going to be milked dry. And it's not like they're just stopping there, because they continue to talk about their want for in-game advertisements, because they see this as the new frontier of microtransactions in the future. And I promise you, it's not going to be like little billboard ads and such. They have much wider envisions for this, probably hitting the pause menu and eventually having a Mountain Dew ad or something. I'm sure it's something as horrible as that, because these companies do not care about, quality or any of that. They don't care about consumers. It's all about investors and making more and more revenue. EA executive wants developers to embrace in-game advertisements. This is coming from Alexander Doe, VP of Advertising and Sponsorship at Electronic Arts, spoke recently with Games Business, and he says, as you think about new games that are coming out, as you think about free-to-play experiences that are happening on the console side, like our skate game, those are opportunities where if you actually design them with the right advertising and brand experiences in there from the get-go, it just makes it easier. It makes it feel more native, and it creates more flexibility in the types of brands that can come in and out. So I do see this as a big opportunity there. And then he further went on to say, when we think about in-game measurement and viewability standards, how do we make sure that it's consistent so that when other publishers and platforms also do this, and we share back reports of the brand of the marketer, they're seeing consistency. Some of the things that we're doing here, I believe, will drive a bit more consistency and standardization across the industry, which is pretty much making in-game advertisements normalized, like microtransactions largely has become normalized in really all games, period. And another example of that is exactly what's going on with Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed Black Flag and the microtransactions they introduced with that, which has led to some Steam reviews being very, very negative with the inclusion version of that. I think people need to understand, as soon as you introduce microtransaction into any mode, especially when it comes to XP and all of that, I think it calls into question the design of these games, whether it's more grindy because of that. And more often than not, it is more grindy because these developers have been told to do so by corporate. It's all about pushing people to buying some bundle packs, even if it's a couple of dollars. That is the goal, to get people to spend more than the $60, $70 purchase that they're making here. But in the case of Black Flag Resynced, where this gets a little bit more complicated, is that the microtransactions are varied. There's just tons of different things that you can buy, different gear, cosmetics, and all of that, and a lot of people were very upset about that, especially this is a remake of a game that came now over a decade ago, and people kind of find that sickening. And people are also wondering, why isn't this included in the $70 purchase? That is a valid question, and this isn't like Ubisoft is exclusive with this. Many other publishers, I believe Capcom has also done this, and every single time it always upsets people, but especially because this is a remake, it's a very ugly feeling, and maybe people are wondering, if I'm paying $70, why isn't this all included? This should be the full, complete experience. And to this, Ubisoft actually responded to somebody on Steam with their negative review, in which the negative review says, what's the point of getting the deluxe version when immediately in-game there's $85 worth of DLC that you don't own, which is a valid point. Somebody paying the more premium edition of this game, and they're still not getting the full experience. Ubisoft, though, responded, and as you would expect, it's a laughable response. We've seen your feedback since launch, and we're reading all of it. Thank you for caring this much about the game. We want to be clear at one point. The standard edition is the full, complete experience. Every mission, every island, the full story of the complete world, all there with nothing held back. The additional packs are entirely optional, extras for players who want them, and never a requirement to enjoy or complete the game. We'll keep listening as you play, which is basically a non-answer of eat shit. That's basically what Ubisoft's PR department said here. And it is ridiculous. You're paying probably $80, $90 for a deluxe edition of this game, and you're not getting everything included. It's already ridiculous enough that the standard edition doesn't include most of this, but a deluxe edition, this just goes to the insanity of these games and how many of these publishers don't want these games to be, $80 or $100 purchases. They want this to get into them to $200, $300, as much as they can make out of these products. And the single player frontier is one that a lot of publishers have been yearning for. They want to make more and more money from these games, and that's why every once in a while you'll see a publisher try to dabble in this. Ubisoft has especially been the most notorious, but they'll push time savers and all of this stuff because those microtransaction sales, they add up. And it's just hilarious. It comes at a time in which Ubisoft's all of their projects continue to be embroiled in non-stop chaos. Like Ghost Recon, they're working on that project, and it's been cut to meet new deadlines. That seems like every single Ubisoft game the last decade. The new Far Cry game seems to have some chaos happening with it. Beyond Good and Evil 2 still in development after like 18 years. It goes to show you how Ubisoft, their product quality continues to deteriorate, but they continue to push so much more monetization. Oh, and at the same time, it's not like developers are benefiting from any of this, because the studio that was working on the Black Flag Resynced project, well, they celebrated by facing mass layoffs from corporate Ubisoft, which is the most 2026 thing that could have happened. Like seriously. Even id Software, which recently launched some DLC for Doom the Dark Ages, they were rewarded by Microsoft with mass layoffs. Although the actual impact of these layoffs seem to have been massively overstated. There's numerous accounts coming from developers saying that the studio is basically dead. This was said for a number of studios, but with id Software specifically, we found out that the team has now been brought back to the headcount that they had when they produced Doom 2016. Still over 100 developers lost their job, but it's not as bleak as originally it appeared to be. This was confirmed recently by studio head of id Software, Hugo Martin, who said the following in this video.
I'm not saying anything new.
Yeah.
Our team, there's been reports that we've been, nerfed into the ground and gutted, and we have 50 people, and
right.
That's not true. We're the size we were when we made Doom 2016, and id Tech is very much alive and well. You have to understand, we have InTech engineers both in Frankfurt and, at Machine Games, we collaborate quite a bit. So, the InTech is there, the Doom team is here.
So yeah, in terms of cuts at ZeniMax, which includes ZeniMax Online Studios, Bethesda, id, and so on and so forth, it was about 400 developers. And I think the overall impact of this is, one, the COVID pandemic. This doesn't get talked about enough, but the overhiring period that happened in 2022, a lot of these studios, a lot of these executives, they went out of their way to bring talent in, but they weren't thinking long term. They were thinking just in that space of time. And unfortunately, things returned back to normal levels. And with that means that there was a lot of excessive amount of labor that these companies never planned to keep. And now the layoffs that have played out the last couple of years, a lot of that is because of that. But there is, especially with Xbox, it is a little bit more specific because the Game Pass strategy has been a massive failure. A lot of these studios, a lot of the visions that they were sold on by Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond and company was that they could make anything that they want, they could spend as much time and money on any project, and Microsoft would subsidize it. That was never realistic, and this reckoning of sorts was inevitable. But the actual statistics, and it's just mind-boggling when you find out that by this year, Game Pass was supposed to be nearing 80 million subscribers. That's what Xbox sold leadership on. They were short of that by nearly 50 million. This was just never going to work out, and everything that's happening with all these studios is because of this Game Pass failure. That terrible leadership and mindset produced games like South of Midnight and The Outer Worlds 2 all having budgets of over $100 million. There is no world that these games that were never going to have wide appeal should have had budgets even close to that. And we know that based on rumors and such that South of Midnight apparently only sold around 500,000 copies. That's fucking insane for a game that cost well over $100 million, and it makes sense why Microsoft now is splitting with Compulsion Games, as well as the other studios such as Ninja Theory, and even right now under Asha Sharma, they're having a massive strategy shift in which they're going all in on their big name IP. One of the biggest examples was the announcement that Obsidian Entertainment is working on a new Fallout spin-off. Although Obsidian seems to not like the fact that people didn't like their last couple of games, like Avowed and The Outer Worlds 2, very divisive opinions about those games, and the Obsidian director just the other day he blasted people about this. Director Brandon Adler is tired of seeing cold-take artists who are running their mouths about how the studio has changed following recent Xbox layoffs. The developer responsible for directing The Outer Worlds 2 as well as a new unannounced project made his feelings about the conversation surrounding Obsidian clear. Specific remarks are, another difficult aspect is having to see a bunch of cold-take artists coming out of their woodwork to talk about what Obsidian is or what it isn't. The number of times I've seen people with no understanding of who has worked on our previous games or what they contributed talked about how Obsidian isn't who they used to be is staggering. Most of the time, they are not just wrong, but spreading an enormous amount of misinformation. And I'm guessing that this has to be some sort of reaction to the Fallout news in which many people are skeptical about an Obsidian here in 2026. And you gotta understand, out of the 73 or so developers that worked on Fallout New Vegas, only 16 or so are left at Obsidian. So this is a different Obsidian. And the last couple of games that they put out, The Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed, they weren't very good. A lot of people were very vocal about that, and they do think Obsidian has changed. And if you disagree with that perspective, well, prove people wrong with a new Fallout game. You don't need to do these stupid little go on message boards and LinkedIn and such and complain about people. Prove them wrong with the content, because the last couple of years that I've seen at Obsidian, I haven't seen the studio that redefined the RPG genre a decade or so ago with a game that they only worked on for like 18 months. But yeah, under the Xbox umbrella, it is just non-stop chaos. Like Halo Studios continues to be a mess. Reports continue to be that leadership at they're a disaster. And we have found out that they reportedly canceled a Halo multiplayer project, Ecker, which had customizable Spartans and Elites and large player battles. There was rumors that they were going to have extraction modes, there's going to be Battle Royale and all of this stuff. It just seems like a studio that is a total disaster. And there was also another rumor that recently came about that apparently that new Halo remake that's about to be approaching, apparently a lot of it was outsourcing for its development. most of Halo Studios did not work on it, period, which is just hilarious if true. And then speaking of Halo, we can talk about the developer that put Halo on the map, Bungie, and things aren't going very well over there with Marathon. That's a game that they've been working on. The woes continue as, the concurrent player count is in low digits. Like, this has just been a massive disaster for them. There's rumors that by the end of the year, if things don't start to pick up, this game is dead. And Bungie's future, they might be dead too. They just face massive layoffs as well. A lot of the complaints are being directed at the terrible leadership the last couple of years. But ultimately, Marathon tried, again, it was just another example of a studio that tried getting in on a trend, and it didn't work out. They thought that the success that Arc Raiders had would be felt with Marathon because it had a different aesthetic. That has not worked out. That has not panned out. They're going to be launching a PvE component in a couple of months, and they're hopeful that people are going to be returning. I'm skeptical of that. I feel like that's a game that probably needs to go free to play if it has any bit of chance, but I think it's over. People have their opinion of Marathon. People don't want to play it. They're bored of it. And it just makes the decision to ditch Destiny even worse, especially because that game, even right now, has like 5 times the player base on Steam. And we know Steam charts matter because that is where the bulk of Bungie's audience has been lately. And interestingly, though, Epic Games CEO gave an argument about Destiny, saying that the game could have been profitable if they just used AI, which is just shows you how insane a lot of these executives they don't understand like a lot of the chaos that is happening. Like, they're so tuned out that they don't understand that terrible leadership, so many terrible decisions. AI doesn't fix everything. It's head scratching where Tim Sweeney can come to this conclusion. At the same time, while Fortnite is not making the same amount of money that they're making, and they're facing massive layoffs while they're rushing to AI tools and such. This AAA games industry, man, it's non-stop with this chaos. And then you look to the future. You look to consoles, in which Sony's getting ready for the PlayStation 6, and they know it's going to be over $1,000, and yet they think that they're going to be able to bring hardcore gamers in. That is according to analysts, although all of the moves that Sony has been moving lately, I just don't know how anybody is convinced that owning a PlayStation 6 is going to be worth it. Their live service pursuits, their neglection of their core franchises, and they're continuing to push against physical media. I just don't know how that inspires anybody to not just want to ditch PlayStation as a platform and maybe go PC or somewhere else. This just doesn't make much sense to me. And it comes at a time in which the console market, again, we face those $1,000 consoles with the PlayStation 6 next generation, and even right now, the market shipments are expected to decline by 20% to 34 million units in 2026. This is not a healthy industry right now, and things aren't looking like they're going to be getting much better. As right now, Valve is saying that companies making RAM, which is really the one of the key components that's driving these prices through the roof, is giving them a price, and if they say no, they never talk to us again. People have called them the RAM cartels. It literally sounds exactly like that. And if you didn't know, Micron, one of these RAM companies, they locked in historically high memory prices for 5 years. So for 5 years, these prices, there's a floor set, and they are not going under. That is how bad things are getting, that we're having to have floors set by these RAM companies that know that they have total control over all of this. And Sean Layden recently discussed about the console market basically being eviscerated, and he said, and also the possibility that consoles are probably going to be costing over $1,000 with the PlayStation 6. And this is what Layden said. He said, everyone should be afraid of the $1,000 consoles. That's a whole lot of money, and particularly when a new console launches, you're not going to have a lot of games for it. You can have anywhere from maybe 6 to 12 that'll be out there on the launch window, and if you put a 4-digit price tag on the hardware against that, I think you really slow the adoption curve tremendously. And something like that could just completely kill consoles completely, and people, again, will start to pivot to PC, which is a trend that's already been happening. From users to also game developers, in which, as of 2025, we found out that 80% of developers are creating games for PC, which is now the dominant platform. Peter Moore, former Sega executive and Microsoft executive, gave a bleak vision of where things are headed. The next last console generation. We learned how gamers are very savvy at working the system and disappearing on us once they got their Dreamcast. It's like printer ink, right? HP and these guys, Epson, they'll sell you a $199 printer, and then you're spending $70 every time you need ink. And that's where the money is. And so this classic, they call it razors and blades model, applies here and may apply to consoles if the threshold of paying is such that people go, I just can't afford it anymore. We did this 26 years ago at Sega, and we figured out how you can justify putting a console in somebody's home in those days. Theoretically, it was very much that we're going to block this other guy. We've got you, and we've got you for a number of years, and you're going to buy a lot of games as a result. It didn't work out. But I think that's probably what the hardware manufacturers are noodling right now is the cost of making this stuff is now getting ridiculous. We can't compete. We can't even get supply for what we need because the chip manufacturers are fueling artificial intelligence demand, and they're looking at consumers and probably say we can't make enough profit on you. And I think some of that has influenced Sony's decision to just kill physical media, period. Because again, they'll get that digital revenue, which is more substantial than physical. And that is what Sony wants to enjoy into the future. It also allows them to finally kill off a secondhand market, which has been taking a lot of money away from what they could have been making. It's a lot of greed-driven decisions. At the same time, though, you can blame the other extra variables at play, like RAM manufacturers and how they've just totally destroyed the tech industry. But Peter Moore did continue, and he gave this final assessment, saying, I think that this is a real test for the validity of a video game console. Either technology will solve the problem for the gamer, will solve the problem by saying, I can't afford $800 for a console, I will play on my PC. And the PC becomes your console. I think that is the challenge. Gamers will always find ways to play games. And that is exactly what has played out and continues to play out. People will always find ways to play games. It doesn't necessarily mean, though, that the AAA games industry is involved in that vision, because right now many people are pivoting to the indie industry, looking at those experiences. And there are a few AAA developers that still have earned that respect from gamers, and they will always turn up for those games. But that respect for many of these publishers has been lost, and many have turned their back on these publishers, which have treated gamers like cattle the last number of years. And many feel that a AAA games industry crash is happening or has already happened. Often you see a lot of comparisons made to the 1980s video game crash, and the problem I have with that comparison is that it's deeply flawed because the gaming industry is just in a completely different place. Games are now played by billions of people, and you now have billion-dollar gaming companies. The landscape has totally changed, but especially the last couple of years and here in 2026, things have gotten a lot worse. The affordability crisis has massively affected this gaming industry. Layoffs continue to be rampant. We continue to see massive games shutting down, studios shutting down, rampant microtransactions and monetization schemes, as well as oversaturation of what can only be called slop games. And much of this is before the inevitable AI push that we're about to see. And I think the real big moment that changed everything, and really it just feels like a crash is happening, it's when Sony announced that they were completely killing physical production. That was the point in time in which I think that the gaming industry is going to totally change from here on out. I do feel like consoles are headed for a death, and I think that's going to be felt next generation as people pivot away from the PlayStation and Xbox to PC. And that's a trajectory that I don't think can be stopped now. Certainly, though, I think a lot of blame can go around. Not all of it just on Sony. RAM companies is also a major factor in a lot of this. But ultimately, though, the gaming industry is just not in a good place, and it does feel like things are as bad as they've ever been. And I want to know what your opinions on all of this are down in the comment section below. Do you think I have a point? Do you disagree? Agree? Let me know down below. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or if you found any informative value.
The game industry is in turmoil. Games are bigger than movies. More people are playing video games than ever before. We have handheld PCs, crossplay, subscription services, ray tracing, open worlds, indie games made by tiny teams, and retro games being preserved in ways that would have seemed impossible 20 years ago. But if you talk to any developer, or indeed gamers, the mood is very different. Studios are closing, projects are being cancelled, budgets are out of control. Games take over 7 years to make. Live service games are launching, failing, and disappearing faster than some box games used to hit bargain bins. Memory prices have doubled in 2026 and will rise further because AI data center demand is constraining supply. Microsoft has increased the price of the Xbox 3 times in the last 12 months. The entry model of the Valve Steam machine retails for over $1,000. The Sony PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switch 2 have already seen price increases, with further increases expected. A game console is supposed to be an affordable entry point into high-end gaming. but a luxury device that keeps getting more expensive 5 or 6 years into the generation. If the console, the subscription, the accessories and the games all rise at the same time, then gaming slowly becomes out of reach for the exact audience that made consoles successful in the first place. And now physical media is being pushed off the table too. Sony has announced that physical disc production for the new PlayStation games will end starting in January 2028, with new releases moving to digital formats only through PlayStation Store and participating retailers. On paper, this is being framed as a response to changing consumer habits. And yes, digital purchases make up the majority of full game sales, but the consequence are much bigger than convenience. Once physical discs disappear, players lose one of the last remaining forms of price competition. No used copies, no clearance bins, no borrowing a game from a friend, no walking into a store and finding the same game cheaper than it is on PSN. Everything gets funneled through a single digital storefront where the platform holder has full control over that store, the pricing environment, the visibility, and the long-term access. This is not just about people preferring digital libraries. It's about extracting the dollar out of every single one of us. We once had real consumer protections, proper backward compatibility, long-term preservation, storefront reliability and security. And soon, it'll just become another example of the industry asking players to give up options while paying more for less control. So how did we get here? To understand the state of the industry today, we need to go back to something that used to define games: limitations. In the early days, games were built around hard limits. The Atari 2600, the NES, Master System, Commodore 64, just to name a few. All of these machines had strict rules. You had limited memory, limited storage, limited colors, and limited audio. Those limits forced creativity. A developer couldn't just patch the game later. They couldn't rely on a massive content roadmap. They couldn't ship a 100 gigabyte download and fix it 3 months later. The cartridge had to work, and the game was targeted for the hardware that it was built for. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, the industry grew up fast. CD-ROMs and the PlayStation gave developers more storage. 3D graphics changed what games could be. The PlayStation made games feel mainstream and cool. The N64 pushed 3D worlds into the living room. The Dreamcast brought online gaming early. The PlayStation 2 turned the console into the center of home entertainment. And the original Xbox with Xbox Live changed expectations again. Suddenly, games were not products. They were services, communities, and platforms. And this was a turning point. Before online connectivity became standard, most games had a simple business model. A publisher made a game, shipped it, and hoped that it would sell enough copies. But online consoles and digital storefronts changed everything. Downloadable content, patches, digital sales, achievements, multiplayer matchmaking, user accounts, and microtransactions all made games last longer. They also made them more profitable. For players, this brought real benefits. Games could be updated, bugs could be patched, smaller developers could reach global audiences without manufacturing discs or cartridges. Entire genres exploded because digital distribution made it possible. But the thing is, if a game could make money after launch, then the launch was no longer the end of the business model. It was only the beginning. During the era of the Xbox 360, the jump from the PlayStation 2, GameCube, and original Xbox to the Xbox 360 and PS3 was enormous. Textures needed more details. Characters needed more animations. Geometry became more complex. There was voice acting, motion capture, cinematic presentation, online multiplayer. Everything was a standard. A game that once may have been developed by a few dozen people typically now required hundreds. Publishers started chasing hits that could sell millions of copies. If development costs are low, the studio can be very profitable. But if development costs are enormous, a game can sell millions and still be considered a disappointment. But it's more than this. Even if the game is popular, viable, and technically impressive, but misses internal expectations, it can still lead to layoffs, cancelled sequels, or even a studio being shut down. The increased cost of games meant that there was less room for experimentation and creativity. This is why so many large publishers started to lean harder into proven franchises, sequels, remakes, reboots, licensed IP, familiar genres, open worlds, battle passes, and even annualized content. Developers themselves rarely lack creativity, but because the financial risk became too high, often those games never came out. When a game costs hundreds of millions of dollars to develop and market, publishers do not want a good idea. They want a safe one. And then came the live service boom. Initially, there were good reasons for them. Games such as World of Warcraft, League of Legends, Fortnite, Destiny, GTA Online, Minecraft, and Counter-Strike showed that games could become long-term ecosystems. Rather than the one-time upfront cost, a successful live service game could generate revenue for years. For a publisher, this is incredibly attractive. One successful live service title can outperform a dozen traditional releases. It can keep players engaged, generate recurring revenue, and create a constant relationship between the player and the platform. But the problem is that live service games require something that many companies underestimated. Players only have so much attention. A live service game doesn't just compete with another game at launch. It competes with every game the player already plays, every battle pass that they've already bought, and every friend group they already have. And this makes live service titles exceptionally difficult to develop. Sony spent years building live service games, launching them, and discovering almost immediately that players had moved on very quickly. Developers spend years of their lives on projects that literally vanish within months, and the studio will often not survive. The pandemic made things even more complicated. During lockdowns, gaming exploded. People were stuck at home. Consoles were sold out. PC hardware was hard to find. Games became a social space, a distraction, and a way to stay connected. Companies saw this growth and assumed that it might continue. They hired aggressively, acquired studios, greenlit projects. Investors poured money into gaming because it looked like the future of entertainment had arrived early. But the pandemic spike was not normal growth. As the world reopened, player behavior changed. Interest rates rose. Inflation hit consumers. Development became more expensive. Funding became harder to get. And suddenly, companies that expanded for a bigger future had to deal with a smaller reality. And this is a major reason why we've seen so many layoffs. The industry was not collapsing in the traditional sense. People were still buying and playing games. The problem was that companies had built their plans around unrealistic growth. And when that growth has slowed down, the correction hits developers first. At the same time, the industry became more consolidated. Large companies would start buying studios, publishers, and IP. Microsoft would acquire Activision Blizzard and Bethesda. Embracer Group went on a massive buying spree before restructuring and cutting back. Sony would buy Bluepoint and Bungie and various other studios. Other players like Tencent and NetEase invested heavily across the market. This type of consolidation, however, has consequence. When a mid-sized studio is independent, it's at risk. But when it's owned by a giant company, it has a different risk. It may have more funding, but it also has quarterly expectations, corporate strategy shifts, and pressure from above. If the parent company changes direction, the studio does not control its own destiny. No pun intended. Bluepoint was founded in 2006 and acquired in 2021, and then shuttered in 2026. They were regarded as a best-in-class port and remake studio. Under Sony, they failed to launch any of their own projects or remake any existing ones in half a decade. But this is just one example. Monolith, Arcane Austin, The Initiative, Ready at Dawn, Luminous Productions, Volition, London Studios, Red Storm Entertainment, and many others have also been shut down in the last several years. Microsoft is finalizing a massive Xbox layoff at the beginning of July of 2026, and it's considered to be the largest single layoff event in gaming history. Now, by the time this video goes live, that that event may have already occurred. The industry has become unstable and unsustainable. Xbox Game Pass, seen as a Netflix-style subscription for gaming, triggered a wave of subscriber cancellations when prices were hiked up to $30 a month. While it did see a price cut, it's fair to say that many of those customers would never return. A subscription service for games in this fashion is a flawed business model. The service came with unmet growth expectations, and it came with cannibalization of sales. Many highly anticipated first-party titles were simply devalued. PlayStation Plus is also seen as a disappointment. With annual prices reaching up to $160 a year, players often feel like the subscription does not provide proportional value compared to purchasing titles outright during digital sales. The average player has more games than ever before. Steam libraries are full. Subscription services and catalogs are huge. Free-to-play games offer hundreds of hours with no upfront cost. Retro collections, emulation devices, handheld PCs, and other consoles give players endless options. Having all these games at your fingertips is awesome, but it also means that every new game has to fight for your attention in a market that is completely saturated. In the 1990s, a good game could stand out because there were fewer releases and fewer platforms. Today, a great game can launch and disappear within a week because dozens of other games released at the same time. Discoverability is one of the biggest problems in modern gaming, and for indie developers, digital storefronts would open up that door. But the problem is, behind that door there are literally thousands of other games vying for your attention. Making a game is also more accessible than ever, but getting anyone to notice it is extremely challenging. And this is the paradox of modern gaming. There has never been more tools and easy ways to create video games, but there's never been any more competition for attention. And then we have to talk about AI. Game development has always used tools to speed up production. Level editors, middleware, various engines and animation systems, all these things have been around for years. But generative AI is different because it affects creative labor. Some studios see it as a way to prototype games faster and generate ideas. But many other workers worry that AI will not be used to make better games. They worry it will be used to reduce headcount, lower costs, and flood the market with cheap content. AI has become a useful tool in game production, but it doesn't solve the industry's deeper problems on its own. If anything, it just amplifies them. And if the market is already saturated with games, making more content faster with AI will not make the industry healthier. So what is the actual state of the video game industry in 2026? Many see its demise, but I'm here to tell you that it's not dead. It's not crashing like it did in 1983, but it's definitely under a lot of pressure. The problem we have now is that revenues are high, but costs are even higher. Technology is at a level that we've never experienced before, but production is slower. Games are more accessible, but discovery is harder. Studios are connected more to players, but the players trust them less. The industry is bigger than ever, but for many developers, it feels less secure. Video games have won. They've become mainstream. They've become one of the dominant forces of entertainment in the world. But the business structures around them do not give them a way to grow in a sustainable way. The industry chase trends, chase scale, bigger worlds, bigger teams, bigger franchises, bigger acquisitions, bigger services, bigger expectations. But bigger does not mean healthier. If you ask me, the future belongs to companies that learn how to control scope. Scope is everything. A focused game with a clear identity can succeed. We see this all the time with indie games, retro-inspired titles, AA games, and even some carefully managed AAA project. Not every game needs to be a 100-hour open world. Not every game needs crafting. Not every game needs a battle pass. Not every game needs to be a platform. And not every game needs to last forever. Some games should just be games. You buy them, you play them, you enjoy them, and you remember them. That model is not outdated. In some ways, it feels quite refreshing again. And at the same time, the industry needs better labor stability. Developers can't keep absorbing the consequence of bad forecasts, bad management, failed acquisitions, and executive overreach. If studios want experienced teams, they need to stop treating those teams as disposable. The players also have a role in this. Support smaller games, buying complete releases, and being open to different styles of game design can help create a healthier market. But ultimately, the biggest change has to come from the companies making those decisions. Now, when you look back at the history of video games, every single era has had a crisis. The arcade crash, the console crash, the move to 3D, the HD transition, mobile gaming disruptions, digital distribution, free-to-play, subscriptions, cloud gaming, AI. But the industry has seemed to have forgotten what keeps games alive. It's not the storefront, or the engine, or the subscription service. It's the people making interesting things within limitations. That was true all the way back in the day when they squeezed entire worlds into small cartridges. It was true when modders were building maps on PCs. It's true when indie developers start releasing games on digital storefronts. And it still holds true now. Regardless of what happens to the video game industry, there will always be people making cool games. In 2026, the industry is bigger, more corporate, and more uncertain than ever. But underneath, games will still be built by people who care. And maybe the way forward is not to make everything bigger, but maybe all it is to remember why these games mattered in the first place. But what do you think? Do you think the industry is headed for another correction? Or are we already in one? Are smaller focused AA games the future? Or will the biggest franchises like GTA 6 continue to dominate? As always, let me know in the comments below. And
Now, as a video game, the industry is now generating somewhere between $200 and $350 billion a year in annual revenue, making it by far the largest entertainment sector in the world, regardless of whatever your exact definitions may be. More people are playing video games than ever before. They are playing them for longer, and the not-so-secret reality is that video game companies have gotten a lot better at getting money out of them while they are. The vast majority of revenue in this industry now comes from in-game purchases and advertising, even amongst games that already have an upfront purchase cost or a recurring subscription. Now, obviously this hasn't been great for gamers, but at least a growing user base of people playing longer, spending more, and getting advertised to all across more platforms has been good for the shareholders, right? Wrong. Some of the largest companies in the industry have experienced huge stock declines, multiple rounds of restructuring, narrowly avoided bankruptcy, mass layoffs, and divestitures. Over what should have been the best half-decade in the history of the industry, the overall market is down by as much as 30% from its peak, in the same time that the broader market has more than doubled. So, how is it possible that even with record sales, record new revenue streams, record numbers of new players, and record new opportunities to monetize that new audience, video game companies have still managed to screw this up so badly?
Video game maker Electronic Arts announcing a $55 billion deal to go private in what is said to be the largest leveraged buyout deal in Wall Street history.
More than 150 million Americans are estimated to play video games. 60% of them do so every day.
Xbox is playing with fire, putting ads, a mobile gaming tactic, into their platform.
Electronic Arts and Take-Two Interactive both make a staggering 75% of their money from what's called microtransactions.
Microsoft announcing it is cutting about 4,800 jobs, or roughly 2.1% of the company's global workforce. The layoffs include 1,600 Xbox workers, with more expected later this year.
So, like every good shameless business video essayist, I am going to try and make what should be a pretty basic industry analysis into something bigger and more grandiose than it probably actually is, including the standard issue commentary on society itself. So, you've been warned, I guess. But in this case, there genuinely are a few factors beyond just a handful of companies making a long list of dumb decisions to create the worst of times in what should be the best of times. So, the logical place to start is that long list of dumb decisions. Video game companies have seen that their product involves software, people coding, and development cycles, and concluded that they are basically just tech companies. They have also seen that they have IP, storylines, and fans, and have concluded that they are media companies. Conveniently, tech companies are worth lots of money, so a lot of the businesses in this space were happy to go in this direction thinking it would translate into tech-level valuations, and for a while, it did. But in the end, what they actually ended up doing was combining the worst lessons of the tech industry industry with the worst lessons of the media industry. The first was that they overhired in 2020 and 2021 during lockdowns, assuming that the pandemic boom in new gamers would go on forever. Examples like Epic Games swelled to around 5,000 employees along the way. This led to the current wave of layoffs, especially since layoffs are contagious in tech. Nobody's stock gets punished for cutting staff in the same quarter that everybody else is cutting staff. Industry trackers count around 45,000 gaming jobs cut between 2022 and the middle of last year, 14,600 of them in 2024 alone, and the rounds have kept coming through this year. The second problem with trying to emulate tech companies was the obsession with making acquisitions. Microsoft in particular has gone on a massive spending spree acquiring studios to create the Netflix of gaming. They spent $7.5 billion for ZeniMax and then $68.7 billion for Activision Blizzard, the largest acquisition in the history of the industry, alongside a bunch of smaller studios to build out their Game Pass offering. Now, even regular streaming services outside of Netflix have struggled with financial viability, and the same kind of model applied to video games struggled particularly hard for reasons we will get into soon. The point for now is that by the time this shopping spree wrapped up, Microsoft's gaming division alone stood at 22,000 people. As they started struggling with returns and questions from their corporate overlords, they also followed the same model of product and shitification, especially amongst games with a locked-in audience. Game Pass Ultimate got a 50% price hike in a single announcement late last year, and Xbox itself has now announced 3 separate console price rises in 15 months, which I am told will be devastating for the 3 people still looking to buy one. Beyond just Microsoft, the whole industry is playing a game of eat or be eaten, with 189 M&A deals in the industry in 2025 alone, according to the investment bank Drakestar, worth a record $161 billion, around 14 times the deal value of the year before. To be fair, this was pushed up considerably by the $55 billion Electronic Arts buyout led by the Saudi Public Investment Fund, which is the largest all-cash leverage buyout ever recorded in any industry. Assuming regulators actually let it close, which, well, they probably will. More acquisitions have also furthered the trend of layoffs, as a lot of the time, these companies are just interested in the IP, not the development teams themselves. Embracer Group, an investment and holding company, rolled up more than 130 studios before their money ran out. The resulting unwind involved cutting around 4,500 employees and closing 44 studios. Around 80 projects just got canceled outright, while the surviving franchises got packaged into a new company for a fresh stock listing. In such a rapidly growing space, they assumed the Silicon Valley spend money and they will come mindset would work here as well. In hindsight, it clearly hasn't worked out. But, well, why were they wrong? Well, a few reasons. The first is that a lot of gamers aren't actually gamers. They are just people who happen to play a video game, which might sound like the world's sweatiest gatekeeping, but I am certainly in this category as well. In the early 2000s, gaming was still a fairly niche hobby, particularly focused on younger people, primarily men, on gaming consoles, and an even more niche group that played on their PCs. In this time, online gaming was still in its infancy, and most people had a drawer full of titles they would play through depending on what they felt like. The primary content of these games was a campaign or a simple gameplay loop. That has obviously changed. Over the past 20 years, even though the number of titles and players kept going up, the number of games people actually spend their time in went down. While making this video, I looked back through my old binder, and there were at least 20 games that I would play on any given year in rotation. Today, I play 2 games, and while I would like to make an excuse like I am getting old and just have more responsibility these days, the truth is I probably spend longer playing these games in any given week than I did playing all of these. Beyond the personal anecdote, this is a documented trend across the wider industry. Unlike other media like music or movies, people can commit far more time to consuming a video game, and live service games and a multiplayer focus can extend that time commitment to basically infinite. The only real limitation is the number of hours people have in a day, and an increasing share of those hours are being spent on forever games. Despite recent trends and understandable complaints, video gaming is still largely a very cost-effective form of entertainment, but the limit new games are running into is not that their customers are running out of money to spend, it's that they are running out of time to spend, as most of their hours are already accounted for. According to Newzoo's playtime tracking, in 2024, 57% of total playtime was spent on games 6 or more years old, a further 32% on games 1 to 5 years old, and only 12% on games released that year. Back in 2021, those older games were only taking 39% of playtime. That share has climbed 18 points in 3 years. For PC, this trend is even more concentrated amongst older gamers, with 67% of playtime going to 6-year-old games, even though they theoretically have a wider selection of of independent new releases at significantly lower prices than console games. An extreme example of this is that one of the writers here at Works Media, not pointing any fingers, has over 10,000 hours playing League of Legends, and an otherwise totally neglected library full of Steam games. The top 5 titles on PC accounted for 30.4% of all hours on their own, and Fortnite by itself was 9.3% of all track playtime across PC and console combined. So, while in theory the total addressable market is better than ever, most of these studios are actually just fighting over a shrinking pile of scraps. Industry analyst Matthew Ball estimated that outside of annualized franchises, thousands of games backed by tens of billions of dollars were competing for around 5.6% of total player hours, and 4 titles won half of it. So yeah, the industry has basically broken into studios that have managed to create a hit game and they are just milking it, and studios taking huge risks on the hope that they can produce the next one. It's just simply much harder to sell a casual $70 game these days, which has created some much more serious downstream problems. So it's time to learn how many works to find out how the gaming industry is imploding under the weight of its best years ever. This video is sponsored by Monarch. If you have ever tried to track your money across multiple apps, link in my description for 50% off your first year. Okay, so gamers are basically barricaded inside the same 5 games they have been playing for a decade, which has led many studios to conclude that the only logical move is to create the next big live service game or die trying. This has created a trend of massive games with limitless features put together by huge teams with enormous budgets. The problem is that if these games fail to break through, they become extremely expensive dead weights. This also means that even at full price, a lot of these titles can't make their money back on unit sales alone, so they are leaning more on in-game purchases and in-game advertising. If these never eventuate, because nobody ends up spending that much time in the game, losses can be devastating, even with decent upfront sales. And of course, it's a lot worse without them. Sony spent 8 years and a reported $200 million on developing Concord, their big hero shooter answer to Overwatch. It sold an estimated 25,000 copies, and the servers were switched off 2 weeks after launch with full refunds all around. Warner Brothers did the same thing with their Suicide Squad game, which missed so badly that the company disclosed a $200 million hit to earnings. And then they did it again a few months later with a $100 million write-down, mostly pinned on multiverses. Now, I know it's fun to point and laugh, but it's going to keep happening. Because of the network effect of these games, the results are increasingly polarized. They are either a smash hit or a monumental failure. People want to play games with their friends, so they play the games their friends are playing. And if their friends aren't playing a given game, they probably won't either. Helldivers 2 or a Marvel Rivals, or even something like Among Us and Mecha Chameleon have broken through, and they are printing money from people who want something to play with their friends, but that self-reinforcing concentration means everything else is running a greater risk of becoming another Concord. But the problem is now, even if they do find a cash cow, there is an incentive to milk it until it curdles to find the next mega development. Sony paid $3.6 billion for Bungie in 2022, then tapped Destiny as hard as they could to fund the development of Marathon, and then Marathon flopped as well. Sony has now written down around $766 million on that studio in a single fiscal year. Destiny 2 got its final content update last month, and about half of Bungie has been laid off. Even the biggest winner of them all is slowing down. Fortnite engagement has been falling since 2025. Epic laid off over 1,000 people this year, saying that they were spending significantly more than they were making, and we have to make major cuts to keep the company funded. This heavy push towards live service games that dominate people's time and drive recurring spending also means that people are increasingly treating games as a social outlet. Potentially, you might even say some modern version of a third place. As such, and hot take alert, a lot of people don't really want something new. They want something familiar. Friends like to hang out in common environments, and especially as the average gamer gets older, now 36 years old in America, that becomes even stronger. This trend of playing fewer games but playing them for much longer also explains the challenges that came with the subscription services like Game Pass. In theory, a modest monthly subscription for access to a massive library of games was a great deal, and probably more cost-effective than getting a similar selection of content through something like Steam. The problem was that people were only playing a small selection of games anyway, so having access to hundreds of titles didn't really mean much when they were only actually playing 2 of them. Microsoft reportedly set itself an internal target of 77 million Game Pass subscribers by this year. Again, assuming that this was just another streaming service or tech offering, this wasn't completely unreasonable. In reality, it got to 34 million, tried that 50% price hike from earlier to squeeze more out of the subscribers it did have, and promptly lost around 4 million of them. Now, of course, this is a generalization. Everybody spends their time differently, and if you are personally someone that likes to try a new title every month, congratulations. You are probably having a lot more fun than everybody else. But for everybody else, there is one place left to actually find extra hours in people's day: mobile. People just spend more time on their phones than sitting down at a dedicated PC or console to do gaming. This becomes particularly true for the filthy washed masses of more casual gamers. The share of direct mobile game revenue is now bigger than PC and console combined, $103 billion last year against $86 billion for the other two put together. Now, you probably already knew all this, but the point is that this can be a lot more lucrative, because mobile games are generally much simpler in design and development and also have a system more naturally conducive to microtransactions. Often, payment can be handled through the same phone that people are playing on, which strips out the transaction friction that games on other platforms have to fight through. Again, this is well documented, but if studios are going to choose a proper game for real gamers, there needs to be a very good commercial reason why they wouldn't spend the same resources on building dozens of games for a much larger, more lucrative market. The only real justification is the chance at making the next big live services game. On the other end of the development spectrum, it's never been easier for independent studios or even individual people to create their own game and publish it thanks to robust game engines in platforms like Steam or even Roblox. But this means that basic indie games are an incredibly crowded space with immense competition. More than 19,000 games were released on Steam last year alone, and nearly half of them got fewer than 10 user reviews. To differentiate themselves, game companies have felt the need to create significantly higher-end titles that wouldn't be possible for smaller teams to put together. This has created a missing middle of games that are a cut above the indie selection in terms of features, but aren't monster AAA titles that cost more than Avatar to make. Court documents filed by Activision revealed that Black Ops Cold War cost around $700 million to develop before marketing, despite, well, let's be honest, not really being that much different from any other COD games released in the last 10 years. In the past, studios could try to create a consistent roster of decent games. If one of them did well, that was great. If one of them flopped, that wasn't ideal, but it wasn't crippling. Today, even the biggest studios are kind of going all in on the success of their next release with very little margin of error if it doesn't work out. Now, to play devil's advocate a bit here, betting big is not totally irrational when one Fortnite can pay for 20 flops. But the problem is that everybody is making that same bet at the same time into the same fixed pool of player hours. The frustrating part is that when anybody actually funds the middle, it can still work. Expedition 33 was made by a core team of around 30 people for under $10 million, sold 5 million copies in its first 6 months, and swept the Game Awards. It obviously can work, but I guess you also need to actually make a good game, which capital investment alone can't guarantee. And even if it does, it's probably going to get ripped off anyway. So yeah, the third big issue is clearly one that is not unique to gaming. If you ever see a YouTube video that does well, you can be pretty sure that there will be 20 other videos that copy it in the coming months, because making an original YouTube video normally takes a fair amount of time and effort, and if it doesn't do well, it can cause serious problems. Copying a video is easy. It comes with some guarantee of success. That's the exact reason why I've decided to mix things up and steal the Smoothie King's talking points and thumbnail for this video. Now, hopefully it goes without saying that I am joking. I will always leave a link in the description below, and we mostly discuss different things. But the point is, this clearly happens everywhere on YouTube, as people just naturally follow basic incentives. The same is true 10 times over for video games. Any game that does well is going to be copied by dozens of people with tools that make basic game design relatively simple. This is especially the case with people porting paid indie games into Roblox for free with inbuilt microtransactions. Last summer, Peak, one of Steam's best-selling games of the month, got cloned on Roblox almost immediately. The copy pulled in 6 million visits in about 2 weeks, monetized with Roblox's own microtransaction system, while the studio that actually made the game got nothing. The game developers said that they would rather you pirate their game than play the microtransaction-riddled Roblox slop ripoff, which is a sentence an actual game studio felt the need to post in 2025. Roblox is running 132 million daily users and 31 billion hours of engagement every quarter, which the same Matthew Ball from earlier estimates is about the same engagement as Steam, PlayStation, and Fortnite combined. Now, obviously, this is bad. But the point is, for large studios, it further means that they need to make games with some kind of moat around them to defend against obvious ripoffs. And the easiest one is to make something too complex to copy, and then integrate recognizable IP in addition to some guarantee of players being around for consistent online multiplayer. Now, it sounds bad, but it gets worse because this has literally already happened before. The last time this industry drowned itself in cheap copies of whatever it was selling, it was 1983, and the American home video game market fell by around 97% in 2 years. So yeah, I'm not exactly going to feel bad for the big gaming companies. They have made plenty of their own mistakes and have leaned into anti-consumer practices to compensate for their own failing. But it's not been an easy time to be a game studio either. Now, if you want to see this whole dynamic play out on a wider scale, go and watch this video next to unpack the financial reasons we keep on making so much junk. And don't forget to like and subscribe to keep on learning how money works.
It's Bob Lavari's robust, middle-aged cock.
All right, that was definitely 3 shameless plugs, not just one, but... All right, back to the video. So this is kind of a mixed bag of a story here, because I'm actually happy to hear that the PlayStation 6 is going to be held off. I feel like this generation has been a non-starter, and coming out with new hardware when people aren't satisfied with their current hardware, well, I think it's kind of disastrous. But the circumstances surrounding the fact that the PS6 is being delayed is still bad news. I don't want a PlayStation 6 yet, but the reason that we are not going to see it anytime soon is what is concerning. Anyway, this comes from WCCFtech.com. I'll read it to you, then we'll discuss. Sony CEO Hiroki Totoki made some interesting and somewhat foreboding statements, not only about the PlayStation 6, but also about how the company's business has to change in these trying times to survive, which, yeah, it's a fairly grim statement for a CEO to make. Like, yeah, we have to completely change course because we're going to fucking sink hard and fast. In a fresh interview with the Wall Street Journal, Totoki-san did not speak at length about the PlayStation 6, only mentioning that the system's launch date and thus price has yet to be determined, which is interesting to hear this because there were very educated rumors recently that Sony was like full steam ahead on releasing the PlayStation 6 in 2027 no matter what. But what I think is due to the astronomical component prices with RAM being eaten up by data centers, Sony, even in their worst case scenario, didn't see how bad it's going to get, and they were like, yeah, we're going to recalibrate on when we're releasing the PlayStation 6, because releasing it in 2027 would mean we probably would have to close up the shop of PlayStation. That sounded really stupid, but I'm going to keep it in the video. Continuing, this shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone following rumors, as we reported that a decision on the matter will likely only be taken early next year, right before production begins. So here's more of a reason that Sony may push off the release of the PlayStation 6. What makes the Sony CEO statement about the PS6 still not having a release date set interesting are a few others regarding the company's entire business. This is what Totoki had to say. Traditional businesses are important. I have great respect for these businesses, but at the same time, we need to change. So traditional businesses is hardware, electronics, so on and so forth. Totoki-san said about the company's shift from a hardware and electronics business to an entertainment business. For this reason, the Japanese company is focused on turning its gaming IPs into movies and TV shows, which we've been seeing with like The Last of Us. They're also making God of War into a TV show. Totoki-san said this too. A CEO's most important task is to simply make sure the business survives. Considering that importance, we need to take some action. Otherwise, we cannot survive in this landscape. So listen, I think that Sony sees the writing on the wall. I think that they see that there is a lack of interest, probably because of the AI component crisis, that people are not enthused about the PlayStation 6. Let's keep it real. Before RAM prices shot through the roof and PC and tech component prices shot through the roof, no one really cared about the PlayStation 6 back then, and that wasn't that long ago. I'm talking 5 years into the generation. There were a lot of people like PS5 Pro, Like, what are we doing here? Well, what are we going to a PlayStation 6 for? What is it truly going to offer me, especially when this generation, the current one, offered me next to nothing that the PS5 Pro can't give me, or Xbox Series X can't give me, or even the Switch 2 at this point can't give me. And now, with people knowing that the PlayStation 6 is probably going to be astronomically expensive no matter how much Sony looks for ways to cut costs, they're like, I don't even really feel like I utilize my PS5. I am good. I am good. So if they're still lunatics and launch the PlayStation 6, which I don't think they will, in like late 2027 or 2028, the cross-gen support they're going to have to keep their business PlayStation sustainable is insane. You thought the cross-generation games for PS4 and PS5 lasted a long time? You ain't going to see nothing until you see how long cross-gen lasts when the 10th gen consoles come out, even if they push them off to like 2030. So anyway, it seems like the writing is on the wall. We don't see a PlayStation 6 until 2029, 2030. I mean, hey, that's good for the current gen consumer. You bought your PS5, PS5 Pro, PS5 Slim, whatever. You know that for another few years, you're going to get a return on that investment. But what does that mean for the PlayStation 6 even when it eventually comes out? If we have this little excitement for it now, and it's already late in this generation, I don't feel like the excitement is going to increase. I feel like it's going to diminish even more. So when the PS6 does hit store shelves, is it going to collect dust there? We'll have to wait and see. Make sure you check out my review of the Boss Game BTA-439. It's an awesome Steam machine alternative. I'll have a link to that below in the description. I will see all of you in the Twitch stream that I'm doing in a few minutes.
Guys, we got to talk about Rockstar. Man, it is absolutely insane what is going on out there right now, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even know where to begin, but I guess the only place to begin is probably going to be here. So needless to say, boys, I need you to give me a little bit of your time on this particular segment because it's a lot. It's a lot. We got a lot to go through. So let's start off with this, boys. First and foremost, I woke up today after my beauty sleep that we all know we need, right? We all need beauty sleep, right? I woke up today and I'm thinking, you know what? Today is going to be a normal day. So there's no way that today is going to explode like every other day. This is going to be the day where everything is normal. Come to find out, that's not the case. Literally just a couple of hours after that, all of a sudden, I start seeing a trending story of Take-Two has officially filed subpoenas in federal district court for Microsoft and Discord for all information related to the accounts behind the recent spread of GTA 6 leaks or who happen to be members of servers where footage was shared, including Dark Viper AU editor's server. So apparently they're also subpoenaing a YouTuber because apparently his editor must have included some clips of GTA 6. I just want to be honest with you guys. I've seen a couple of YouTubers online that have been complaining about their channels getting copyright struck by Rockstar because they decided to show GTA 6 clips in their videos or their live streams or anything like that. I just want to let you know, you have absolutely, positively zero survival instincts. You have absolutely zero survival instincts. I really don't know how else to say it other than that. The fact that you thought you were going to be able to put that out there is fucking crazy. I just like, how is that even remotely a good idea? But anyway, there are people that did that, and that's where we're at. So we now are at the point where we are at the 6-star threat level, and Take-Two has filed subpoena within 2 days, within 48 hours. We got the GTA 6 leaks. We got an actual court document, a subpoena sent to the federal district court, and not only that, it actually got approved. The document got approved, and now everything is underway. And not only that, Microsoft also put out a statement saying that they're essentially going to work alongside, obviously, Rockstar and Take-Two in ensuring that, they do everything they can to try to take this guy down. This guy just became public enemy number one of the entire corporation landscape in the world. every single corporation is going to use this guy as a, basically as an example. They're going to use him as an example to try to stop everybody else. And they're basically thinking if they could probably get to this guy, then basically they could get to any guy. That's essentially what they're thinking, because this guy is taunting them nonstop. Now, let's go. Okay, first and foremost, let's go over this article about the actual subpoena, and then we're going to go over other aspects as well, because it's just we got some leaks from ironically the employees. It's so funny to me. Don't you guys think it's ironic that the developers that are supposedly complaining about Grand Theft Auto 6 leakers leaking Grand Theft Auto 6 are currently right now leaking information to Jason Schreier? Does anybody else find that to be ironic? Because we all know that Rockstar did not sign off on you giving that information to Jason Schreier, and yet meanwhile, you guys are talking to Jason Schreier and telling him everything that's going on over at Rockstar. So I'm just starting to say it's a little bit ironic, but anyway, let's get into it. So, Take-Two asked the court to subpoena a trove of records from Microsoft and Discord as it hunts for the GTA 6 leaker. The hunt is on to find out who's behind an unprecedented spree of Grand Theft Auto 6 leaks. Take-Two, the parent company of Grand Theft Auto Rockstar Games, has filed multiple subpoena requests in federal district court seeking information related to the recent spread of GTA 6 gameplay videos. The company has petitioned both Microsoft and Discord for the release of any records related to various online accounts involved in posting and sharing leaks of the game ahead of its November launch. That includes user data, as well as data about any associated OneDrive or link to Xbox accounts. So instead of a targeted attack, these guys are going full scorched earth, which may not result in what they're looking for, but essentially Take-Two is like, instead of us focus firing on one or two people, they're just going to subpoena everything. They're going to try to get the entire Discord. And I've been saying for the longest time too, I don't know why anybody would join that Discord. Why would you join that Discord? That is just like, again, terrible. That is the worst thing you could have done, because I told you guys the other day, Rockstar was going to be lightning focused on that group. They were going to be focused on that group, and they were going to go over that entire group. It was only a matter of time. But unfortunately, a lot of people did join, so now you guys are going to be part of that, and Rockstar is going to be looking through all that stuff. But anyway, the copyrighted material includes, but is not limited to, audio-visual content, artwork, images, dialogue, or other creative elements. Reads a petition for a subpoena filed with the Southern District Court of New York on August 20th. It continues Take-Two, through its counsel of record, has submitted a sworn declaration confirming that the purpose for which the DMCA subpoena is sought to obtain the identity of an alleged infringer or infringers, and that such information will only be used for the purpose of protecting Take-Two's rights. The one petition, which references a GitHub repository where infringing content was posted, gives Microsoft until September 4th to produce all internal Microsoft business records and investigative records associated with Microsoft's internal investigation of the cyber leak persona, sufficient to identify the user, person, or entities associated with that persona. And it continues, all identify information associated with all user accounts that are or were members communicating within the Discord server listed below during the time period of June 1st, 2026 to the present. And for those accounts, provide any associated device telemetry records where one or more of the tool and file artifacts below were present on the system. For each returned account, provide the account ID, registration email, registration and last login IP addresses, phone number, linked connections, any associated device identifiers, and content related to Grand Theft Auto, Rockstar, or CyberLeak from their OneDrive account. So again, guys, we are talking about I guess you could call it casting the widest net, where they're not even focused about, like, again, I said, targeting one or two particular people or potentially using them to try to find other people. They're casting the widest net in the hopes that they can find this guy. And keep in mind, CyberLeak updated his website. We're going to go over that. This man is still updating his stuff. Now, to my knowledge, his Telegram got taken down. His website got taken down multiple times, but then it came back up. Some of his accounts got taken down. The X account copycats have been taken down, but there's others that spring up. You guys got to know, man, anytime X takes down one account, there's going to be 10 more that are going to spring up doing the same exact thing. So let's go over this. Discord has the same deadline to provide a trove of records related to all user accounts that are or were members communicating with the Discord server that involves CyberLeak, Cinematic Rockstar, and Surfer 24K, whatever the hell that is, as well as Odyssey GG, Odyssey's Public Brand Guild, and Dark Viper AU's editor's server. That last one is for the popular GTA 5 Twitch and YouTube streamer Matthew Matt Judge. Now, that's absolutely insane. I mean, I don't know what he has to do with any of this, to be honest with you. I don't know if, like, he's involved in any... I highly doubt it. I'm pretty sure he just thought it was a great idea to try to communicate with the leaker so that he could get first dibs on the content to try to build, you know, put it on his channel, whatever. I think it's crazy, bro. It's like... This is never worth it. It's never worth it to get mixed up with these people, but, you know, they're going to do it anyway. They're asking for my Discord info. I'm mentioned by name, the judge wrote in response on X. I don't know anything. That isn't my editor's Discord. There aren't even any clips of the leaks in either of my Discords. I'm confused. I did say he can't drive multiple times, so maybe I caused him to write CyberLeak can't drive on the most recent clips. Maybe he visited my Discord. I don't know. Rockstar hasn't emailed me. I suspect if they thought I knew something personally, they would do so. Everyone's talking about these leaks. I am not special, hopefully. The identity of the person or group responsible for spreading multiple gameplay clips revealing new features and never before seen parts of GTA 6 world and mechanics have yet to be uncovered, and Rockstar hasn't yet commented on the situation. Now, let's move over to this story, okay? Because, guys, like I told you the other day, it gets worse, okay? It gets worse. Not only are they going scorched earth and they're putting out the most, like, insane blanket statement, but, guys, I told you the other day, and now it's officially been confirmed. Rockstar has suffered a confirmed leak involving an Xbox graphics capture file. The leak is believed to be connected to a phishing attack targeting a Rockstar employee. It is not a game build, but the capture contains a significant amount of game data, including 3D models, textures, and map-related information. Members of the community have already extracted height maps and a UI minimap texture, while additional map assets have also appeared online. The file is currently being kept from public distribution, but the extracted data can still reveal new details about Rockstar's upcoming game. So now we have an Xbox problem. So now you got an Xbox problem. The version that was leaked online was supposedly the PC version. This is getting really bad. Now, again, we have the actual documents. I'm not going to personally go over them. I already summarized them earlier, but these are the actual documents going over everything. They wasted absolutely no time. Now, CyberLeak's last working website mirror has officially gone down and returns a 502 error. This comes shortly after CyberLeak's Telegram channel was also taken down for copyright infringement. For now, all of CyberLeak's mirror sites for distributing the GTA 6 leaks are appearing to be offline. You can't even access them whatsoever. Now, going over this, guys, let's change this. Let's look at this really quick. So now he's just fucking with them, right? Now, at this point, CyberLeak is fucking with Rockstar. GTA 6 leaker CyberLeak is now charging a $165,000 fee for a chance to buy ads on additional leaks. Now, this honestly, like, again, people have their thoughts on this. The fact that this guy's trying to get money out of this and whatnot. The truth is that there are people out there that are going to pay this because they want to have access to the information. I don't know why you want to have access to this information because you can't fucking do anything with it unless you run the risk of getting sued into oblivion by Rockstar. But he wants $165,000 to buy ads on additional leaks, guys. And I got to be honest with you, I do think it's a little bit ironic. It's a little bit hilarious that there are people out there that are currently complaining right now. You have some shills that are out there complaining that this guy is charging to be able to see the leaks. And meanwhile, these are the same people that on their social media profiles were promoting the fact that they paid Netflix early so that they could see a trailer early. So you essentially did the same exact thing, just legally instead of illegally, but you feel morally just for whatever reason that may be. It's like you literally paid Netflix for the same exact thing, my guy. But anyway, so $165,000 to buy an ad space and additional leaks is absolutely insane. Contrary to what your self-preservation instincts might tell you, GTA 6 leaker CyberLeak is not hiding under a rock that's under another rock that's in the middle of a rainforest with no cell phone service. They're not even taking precautions following the subpoena from Microsoft and Discord. And it might reveal the hacker's identity. Instead, CyberLeak has decided to publicly share its contact information. He literally has a contact tab. Guys, this leaker is taunting them so bad that he literally added a contact me tab to his website. He's like, hey, Rockstar, you can contact me at any time that you want. What are we doing, bro? Like, this is absolutely insane. Is this guy like, does he got like 10 days to live or something? Is he about to die? Does he have cancer or something? Like, what the fuck is going, this guy is absolutely on a warpath. And I have never seen anything like it. This is like a video game supervillain. What are we doing here? Anyway, the Merry Group is raising funds through community support and strategic partnerships by selling ad space on its forthcoming GTA 6 leaks. If Take-Two doesn't turn it into canned peaches by then, some of the strategic partnerships CyberLeak offers includes custom-made gameplay footage tailored to specific brands, including sexual content, it seems, by the way. Sounds like a business venture with integrity to me. Again, you want to talk about integrity. Meanwhile, you were out here celebrating the fact that Netflix was going to charge you for early access to a fucking trailer. To a trailer. Like, I understand that one is legal, one is not legal, but they're both absolutely dirty, and you know it. You know it. They're both absolutely dirty, and you 1000% know it, but because you want to shill for the industry, you are going to pretend like one is not dirty and the other is dirty. When they're both dirty. This is literally playing fire with fire. Or fighting fire with fire. That's actually what's going down here. But they don't like it because they never thought. See, the problem is a lot of these shills never thought that Rockstar would be touchable. They never thought. They thought that Rockstar was incapable of being touched. And to be fair, Rockstar probably thought the same thing too. But anyway, GTA 6 clips simply fell off the truck anyway. CyberLeak emphasizes not demanding a ransom where publishers pay to stop the leaks. It's just a shy boy looking for advertisers to send it a ton of Monero cryptocurrency to plaster ads across his copyright infringing videos so that Take-Two can more easily figure out who they are and where to put their graveyard plot. Like, these guys are literally desperate to find this guy. Like, they want to destroy him. Because these shills don't like the fact that their big old corporation is currently getting humbled right now. That's really what it is. They don't like it. They don't like it. They don't like the idea of the corporation being humbled. They love their corporations. They want to see their corporations thrive because if the corporations thrive completely unchallenged, then they continue to get their free stuff. They continue to get their free codes. They continue to get their swag bags. That's why they want the corporation to be unfelted. But unfortunately, whether they catch this guy or not, it doesn't matter because CyberLeak successfully stole the moment away from Rockstar. It is what it is. It is what it is. Like, they absolutely, positively, successfully stole the moment away from Rockstar because now everybody's talking about the leaks and nobody's talking about the upcoming Netflix showcase. Not a single person other than the shills are talking about Netflix. Everybody else is talking about the leaks and only the leaks. All pricing terms and deliverables are discussed privately over session. A private messenger says CyberLeak. The Monero transfer serves as the contract fee that guarantees CyberLeak will respond to initiate the conversation. So he's just taunting them at this point. Now, let's go over this really quick. Just a reminder, the Xbox Chief Technology Officer has officially responded to the subpoena and has said that we are working closely with Take-Two and Rockstar Games to support efforts to protect creative works and intellectual property. Guys, you literally have Microsoft and Rockstar / Take-Two doing the fusion dance, combining their billions and billions and billions of dollars to go after one man. Because that one man has humbled this company beyond belief. This is the equivalent, I'm telling you right now, this is Rockstar's PlayStation hack moment. Remember how PlayStation CEOs and executives were bowing in front of you, begging for forgiveness after a nearly 30-day hack? This is now Rockstar's moment to experience the same exact thing. The only difference is their services aren't down, but, essentially it's the same exact thing. This is their humble moment. And they're pissed. There's no doubt about it. They are absolutely, positively pissed off. Now, we got one more aspect to this that I want to cover, and it's the Jason Schreier aspect to this, okay? So Jason Schreier has some insiders over at Rockstar, which again, the irony that there are employees leaking information to Jason Schreier, while in the same breath complaining about a hacker leaking. Oh my God. Do we not see that this is very similar? I understand that this is like, leaking the game versus leaking private information for the company, but you're still leaking information to the fucking journalists and pretending like you guys are holier than thou, or you're so upset that the hacker did this to you. Bro, you guys do this all the time. Rockstar has some of the most leaks in the industry. Does nobody remember that GTA 6 got leaked in 2022? It was a pretty bad leak. But again, I guess it's okay when the insiders leak information, but it's not okay when a hacker leaks a little bit of gameplay footage. But anyway, let's go over it. So Jason Schreier, Rockstar introduced strict security measures in 2024 following the GTA 6 leak. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know if it was 2024. Oh, no, it was 2022. Okay. That's what I figured. I figured it was 22. But think about this. So they introduced strict security measures in 2024 following a leak that happened in 2022. It took you 2 fucking years? It took you 2 years? You guys get completely humbled. You guys get hacked. The game ends up getting leaked online in 2022, and it takes you 2 years to enable any kind of security measures to stop that from happening again? Why does it take so long? That doesn't make any sense. Jason Schreier discussed the recent GTA 6 leaks and their internal impact over at Rockstar. This is where it gets good. Following the 2022 Rockstar hack, the company required employees to work from the office 5 days a week, starting in early 2024, frustrating some staff. Rockstar also restricted remote access to internal work tools, allowing it only from the office. Some employees are frustrated that these security changes failed to prevent another major leak. So guys, basically what happened is that Rockstar ended their remote work, mandate. They ended up saying that they have to come back to the office. And the reason why is because they wanted to keep people monitored, and they didn't want people working on computers that weren't attached to Rockstar systems. So they wanted to basically keep an eye on everybody, and they still got hacked. So all these employees that ended up going back to work, and they're pissed off because they can no longer work in their pajamas, they're angry because all of that was for nothing. Literally, all of that was for nothing. Morale inside of Rockstar is down following the leak. Management communication has been limited. One senior executive emailed condemning the leaker while reassuring that players will remain excited about the team's work. Oh my God, bro. Imagine this. Imagine your boss being like, listen, guys, people are really going to like your stuff. It's okay. It's okay. People are going to like your stuff. Don't worry about it. Guys, it's not about the fact that people are going to like it or not. It's not about the fact that this is going to affect sales or not. The game is going to sell no matter what. What it is that this took away the moment from one of the greediest corporations that we have ever witnessed. This also took away the moment from another greedy corporation that collaborated with the other greedy corporation. Right? The fact that Take-Two collaborated with Netflix to try to sell you a trailer, this took away their moment. It has nothing to do with the game sales or anything like that. The game's going to be fine. But realistically, this is the biggest thing about this. This took away the moment from Rockstar, from Take-Two, and from Netflix. And honestly, what it did was take away control that Rockstar thought they had on essentially everybody. It took away control. These guys in the upcoming all-digital future, and again, these console studios, their version of a digital future is completely different than the version of a PC digital future. When you have a digital future on PC, there are pathways to ownership. There are multiple pathways to ownership. When you're talking about all digital on consoles, there's no ownership. And that's by design. That's not just randomly happening that way. This is by design. So they now realize that they actually don't have any control whatsoever. all this effort that they've been putting into digital only and getting rid of discs and all this stuff with Sony and PlayStation, it is all gone. The feeling of safety, the feeling of control that they had is all gone. They now realize that they can in fact bleed. Netflix is also frustrated by the situation. Get fucking felted, bro. Schreier said GTA 6 is not finished. This is the worst part, by the way. Jason Schreier said GTA 6 is not finished. Development continues, and employees will work on it until release. How the fuck is this game not done? You are 3 months away from releasing this game. How is Grand Theft Auto 6 not finished yet? You guys are out here complaining about the leaks and your game is not even done? When I read this, I was like, there's no way, right? Like, there's no way. You guys have had over a decade to make this game. I understand the game is massive, all that stuff. You guys have all the budget in the world. You have all the manpower in the world. You have all the technology available to you in the gaming industry, with all the connections in the gaming industry. How the fuck is this game not finished? It just blows my mind. So anyway, boys, needless to say, this is an absolutely insane situation. The fact that I woke up today and a couple of hours later found out about the lawsuits and stuff. Well, it's not a lawsuit yet. They're just hunting the guy. That's really what it is. They're hunting the guy at this point. We're going to see what happens, but I'll say this. We might be talking about GTA 6 for the next couple of weeks because every single day there's something drastic, something crazy that is going down. And I have a feeling that it's only going to get worse from here. I have a feeling that especially if Rockstar cannot get this guy for whatever that reason may be, if for some reason they're incapable of actually doing it, this is going to be probably one of the biggest stains on Rockstar in history. It's going to be bad. If the company that thought they had all control, the company that thought they could nickel and dime their players, the company that thought they could sell you a trailer and nothing was going to happen, if they get destroyed like this and they can't even find the guy, that's going to be a really bad look for them. And at this point, I have a sneaking suspicion that what they're going to do is they're going to use other people that are associated with this, other people that necessarily weren't the ones behind the hack, but they were spreading around the clips. I think what they're going to do is they're going to use those people as examples. If they can't get the hacker, then they're going to get those people. And they're going to try to sue them or whatever, they make an example out of them. That's what I really think is going to happen here, because I don't think they're going to get the hacker. I really don't. I don't think they're going to get the hacker whatsoever. I think they're going to get his associates, or at least the people who are not associates, but people that wanted to be involved for whatever fucking reason. But regardless, guys, we'll find out what ends up happening. I will follow through with it as much as humanly possible. But, you know, forgive me because there's just so much going on. I will try my best to compile it all together every single day. But this has got to be one of the craziest things that I have ever seen.
Rockstar Games genuinely believe they could put a velvet rope in front of the biggest entertainment launch in human history. They actually thought they could lock the Grand Theft Auto 6 marketing cycle behind a Netflix subscription paywall, and the gaming community would just smile and hand over their credit cards like good little consumers. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick strutted out into the financial press, adjusting his bespoke corporate suit, looked the entire gaming world dead in the face, and called paywalling a goddamn video game trailer behind a monthly streaming fee a groundbreaking partnership. He called the Netflix exclusive reveal one of the hors d'oeuvres of their marketing campaign. Appetizers, main courses, desserts. He described locking the first real look at the most anticipated game in human history behind a subscription service as innovative and exciting. It is staggering weaponized hubris from a man who has never once in his professional life worried about whether he could afford to play the games his company makes. And then a hacker operating under the name CyberLeak walked up to that velvet rope, poured an entire drum of gasoline on it, and lit the whole thing on fire while Rockstar's legal team stood there with their mouths open. We are currently at DEF CON 5, maximum corporate panic. Take-Two's lawyers are sprinting around the internet firing DMCA strikes at anything that even references what happened. YouTube channels getting nuked, Reddit posts vanishing, entire Discord servers going dark. And here is the beautiful, dark, completely insane part of all of this. CyberLeak wrapped their operation in the language of consumer rights advocacy. They wrote a manifesto about digital ownership and game preservation that reads like it was written by someone who genuinely cares about the future of gaming. And then they immediately used that manifesto as advertising copy for a Solana meme coin designed to extract millions of dollars from the exact people they were pretending to fight for. This is the darkest, most cynical, most perfectly timed intersection of corporate greed and internet grifting I have ever witnessed in my life. Today we are going through every single layer of this disaster, the complete timeline of the breach, and why the leak clip proved everything. The mechanical systems visible in the leaked footage and what they tell you about what kind of game GTA 6 actually is. The dual currency nightmare buried in the fourth wave that reveals Rockstar's real monetization plan, the CyberLeak manifesto, and why every single argument in it is completely correct. The Solana pump and dump that proves CyberLeak does not believe a single word of that manifesto. The $2.83 billion stock market bloodbath. The federal subpoenas targeting Microsoft Discord, and a GTA streamer who just makes jokes about being bad at driving, and the iron-fisted irony that Rockstar abandoned physical media to prevent exactly this kind of breach and then got breached anyway. Subscribe right now because Take-Two's lawyers are going to try to get this taken down, and we need real people seeing it first. Let's get into it. The Leonida map is divided into 5 counties. The actual city footprint is roughly comparable to Blaine County in GTA 5, which was the empty rural area, not the city. And then there is the airport. The in-game airport on the southern island is disproportionately, almost comically massive. It appears to be physically larger than the entire Vice City urban area. The runway infrastructure dwarfs the city it supposedly serves. This suggests a significant portion of the total square mileage is large-scale empty or low-density geography. Swamps, highways, open water. The kind of landscape that photographs beautifully in a trailer and takes 45 seconds to drive across doing nothing. The road layout also mirrors the structural weaknesses of GTA 5. There are very few interlinking complex urban routes between major destinations. The design relies heavily on massive linear highways. Highway driving actively discourages exploration because there is nothing to look at. You hold the right trigger for 5 minutes and arrive at a slightly different version of where you started. I barely explored large sections of the GTA 5 map because the road design funneled traffic onto the major arteries and made departing from them feel pointless. If GTA 6 repeats that structure across a larger total area, the game could feel simultaneously bigger and emptier than its predecessor. The moment the leak clip hit the internet, proving beyond any possible doubt that a live playable build of GTA 6 was in unauthorized hands, the investor community responded with immediate panic. Take-Two Interactive stock dropped from $248.13 to $232.84. A 5% decline that translates to approximately $2.83 billion in market capitalization evaporated in 48 hours. For context on the scale, Take-Two lost more value in those 48 hours than the entire current company valuation of Ubisoft multiplied by 3. The stock has partially recovered, but approximately $1.5 billion of that loss remains unrecovered on the charts. When you cost your shareholders $3 billion in 2 days, corporate lawyers stop sending politely worded cease and desist letters and start filing federal warrants. Take-Two has officially filed subpoena requests in the Southern District Court of New York. The filings demand injunctive relief to identify the alleged infringers with a specific set of targets that reveals exactly how aggressively they are pursuing this. They subpoenaed Microsoft. They demanded a September 4th deadline for Microsoft to surrender all internal business records and investigative records regarding the CyberLeak persona, specifically targeting a GitHub repository used to host leaked content. They are demanding account IDs, registration emails, IP addresses, phone numbers, and any GTA-related content stored in associated OneDrive accounts. Through litigation because a hacker read his streaming jokes and thought they were funny enough to reference an illegal footage of the most anticipated game ever made. The specific insanity of this situation cannot be overstated. Let me talk about how badly CyberLeak's operational security appears to be failing, because this is relevant to anyone trying to understand where the story goes next. Viceit's blockchain analysis traced the CyberLeak coin-creating wallet directly back to a KuCoin exchange account. KuCoin is a centralized cryptocurrency exchange. Their official legal compliance policy explicitly states they cooperate with law enforcement subpoenas and provide user identity information when legally required. The person who created the token that generated millions of dollars in transaction volume used a centralized exchange with a known law enforcement cooperation policy to create it. That exchange holds their identity information. Take-Two's lawyers know KuCoin holds it. Federal warrants are the mechanism that retrieves it. But the most glaring failure is simpler than blockchain forensics. The original CyberLeak Twitter login data that surfaced showed a US-based IP address with no VPN indicator. No VPN. US-based IP logged into the account used to post the most heavily legally pursued gaming leaks in history with their actual internet connection from their actual location. These are people sophisticated enough to penetrate Rockstar's internal network infrastructure and extract a live playable build of the most guarded software project in entertainment history. They apparently did not consider running their social media operation through a VPN. The financial footprint connected to KuCoin and the IP data connected to the Twitter account are going to lead somewhere. The 2022 GTA 6 hacker was identified, prosecuted, and received a hospital order. Take-Two pursued that case with every resource available to them. They're going to pursue this one with more resources and more urgency because the commercial stakes are higher. Whatever transaction fee income CyberLeak accumulated from $11.8 million in trading volume is not going to cover the federal defense attorneys they are going to need. Here is the specific observation that ties every part of this story together into a single devastating point. When Sony announced physical PlayStation disc production ends in 2028, one of the industry arguments offered in defense was security. Physical discs create leak vulnerabilities. Manufacturing facilities employ thousands of people, trucks get intercepted, retail workers sell early copies, street dates get broken, and the marketing magic disappears. Going digital eliminates all of that. Server authentication, closed digital infrastructure, no physical media, no physical leak vectors. When Take-Two shipped GTA 6 without a genuine physical disc, the same logic applied. A download code in a cardboard box cannot be stolen from a warehouse. There is no supply chain vulnerability. The code is worthless without server authentication. Digital security is better than physical security. And then somebody penetrated their digital infrastructure, extracted a live playable build of the most guarded game in history. Drip-fed clips across 4 days to maximize a cryptocurrency pump cost them $2.83 billion in market cap and proved that the digital fortress is made of paper. The specific thing the industry said digital only was supposed to prevent just happened to the biggest digital only release in history. Physical media creates certain security vulnerabilities. A truck carrying 50,000 discs can be intercepted. A retail worker can photograph a disc before street date. A QA tester can walk out with a copy. Digital infrastructure creates different security vulnerabilities. A network can be penetrated remotely by someone who never has to physically touch the building. A live playable build can be exfiltrated without leaving a footprint visible to security cameras. The data can be distributed globally within seconds without anyone signing a delivery manifest. Neither model is impenetrable. Both have vulnerabilities. The specific promise that digital-only distribution would solve the leak problem just got disproven by the most expensive example possible. Rockstar abandoned the physical format to prevent exactly what just happened. It happened anyway.
Well, it's not over. Things are actually escalating, and it's unclear where things are headed, and if this is going to be a drip feed that goes on for who knows how many days, and whether or not people will care past the 27th is also a big question. But there is an argument to be made that this individual CyberLeak is doing more marketing for GTA 6 than Rockstar Games and Take-Two Interactive are doing right now. But yes, over the course of the last 36 hours, we have had a lot that has happened. People have been trying to identify CyberLeak leak and have found clues of some stuff that may get him caught. But I mean, look, if he lives in a place like Russia, it's pretty much game over, I would assume, for Rockstar Games and Take-Two. There has been other leaks. We're actually going to start there. The big plane leak is something that everybody was talking about, because at the end of that footage, it showed somebody, well, this individual playing as Jason shooting into the wall leak with the LEEK. So people assume that this has to mean that he has build access. But the big thing that people are starting to notice now, where after 6 gameplay clips have leaked, it's all from the early part of the game. And there's only one, I guess you could say, story mission that's within this build that we've seen, and it seems to be an interaction that Cal and Jason have early on. And I guess coincidental, it has that mention of, I have a VPN. So it doesn't appear that he has access to later parts of the game, although things obviously can change. We have not seen anything with Lucia. We have not seen any other story missions or cutscenes, but he might be holding back. That's the big question mark right now. But yes, the other day we did get plane footage, which kind of spooked everybody and immediately thought that he does have access to a full build of GTA 6. Now that is kind of more so in question, but it was a 2-minute, 21-second video starting off with the player flying above Swampland and heading towards Vice City. It's just, this game is breathtaking. It has made me even more excited for Grand Theft Auto 6. I had some questions about the game, but my skepticism kind of has been put aside, especially because I just absolutely love the Red Dead Redemption 2 influence, the direction that they took it. But yeah, this looks visually, it does look closer to something like Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 as opposed to GTA 5. It does feel like an actual evolution, and this footage specifically of the plane going over Vice City and such, I mean, there's just so much detail, so many locations. I mean, you can see like a dirt track at one point, also the skyscrapers and such. There's such detail associated with them. You can see some video billboards below. There's just a massive amount of attention to detail that I kind of should have expected out of Rockstar Games, but even I had some doubts about it. But yeah, this footage specifically was what has made me more excited for this game, more so than the other clips that had been posted. But yes, at about 54 seconds within the footage, the player actually opened the radio station menu. It is no longer a wheel of options. The top of the screen has a radio selection and square icons, and you can choose the radio station or mute it. An option for an on-demand music can be used. This would likely be how we would stream / play the music we want in real life. And we finally saw the radio stations and songs. Sir Loco Records Radio is a station, Dirty South Classics, Honey FM, Black Country Radio, and there was a song of Rhinestone Cowboy by Glenn Campbell, Emotion, On.U, Stockyard FM, and the song Overpowered by Rosin Murphy was played, Symphony FM with Symphony No. 5's Allegro Molto by Sibelius, and V-Rock, For What It's Worth by Stevie Nicks is also another song featured. So yes, we got a little peek at the radio stations and some more songs that will be featured in the game, and then it ended obviously with the gunfire with him shooting his name onto the back of a building. This suggests he genuinely does have at least 2 more videos to release, one featuring another car and another with a motorcycle. It's still unclear if he has direct access to a build of the game or if these clips are from a longer video recorded in the past, which he is cutting into sections. So far, all the footage seems to show the same section of the game as Jason, with no footage of Lucia, suggesting they are possibly unable to progress past any of the missions. Either way, it seems CyberLeak is still out there and reading the feedback on his videos. Again, as I mentioned, he has on the watermark CyberLeak can't drive. But people are talking about, they're looking at his website, it's still up and things are still active, and seemingly this is going to go on for a while now. And Rockstar Games and Take-Two Interactive are paying attention. As we've talked about in previous videos, they have reacted by taking down stuff on social media, but like how it happened in 2022, it's just, they can keep taking this stuff down. People are going to keep posting it. It doesn't really matter. Now, before we get to the executive corporate side of what's going on, we actually have some information about what's going on inside of Rockstar Games themselves. This is coming from Jason Schreier, Bloomberg. Rockstar rattled as Grand Theft Auto 6 leaks again. And for those that were curious, if they're wondering, are they going to push back the Netflix stuff? Are they going to delay anything? It doesn't appear that's going to be the case. Although this is not good news, because Rockstar has not yet identified the leak or figured out how the latest breach happened, according to a person familiar with its strategy who spoke anonymously because they were not authorized to speak about the situation. The company does not plan to move the gameplay premiere date or make any other immediate changes to its marketing strategy, which sounds like they're just hoping that this individual individual doesn't have massive spoilers that they're planning to leak later on. That's not encouraging. Inside, though, it is all hands on deck as management tries to determine the leak's origins and track down the party responsible, said the person. But there is another leak that has emerged, and that's also another big question mark. We'll talk more about that later in the video. And Jason Schreier further says Rockstar's leaders and many employees are angry, not just because their game has become such a high-profile target, but also because this is the second time this game has become the subject of a major leak. The first one led to big changes in how Rockstar handles security, and this new incident might follow suit. But they first have to start, I guess, figuring out how this even happened. This week, Rockstar has tried to buoy morale as its lawyers aggressively hunt for the party responsible. One of the game's top executives sent out an email to staff denouncing the leaker and promising that the incident would not detract from the excellent work that they've done. Although I think that is dependent on, if anything, more substantial leaks, which up to this point, nothing too crazy has leaked. It's mostly just random gameplay clips, but who knows where this is headed. Regardless, though, Take-Two Interactive has responded in federal court as they have subpoenaed a trove of records from Microsoft and Discord as they're hunting for the GTA 6 leaker. And if this individual is located somewhere in Europe, maybe like Germany, that seems to be like the host of some of his websites and such, maybe they'll be able to track him down. But like I said before, if this person is located in somewhere like Russia, I have to assume it's game over. Regardless, though, this report from Kotaku goes on to mention that Take-Two, the parent company of Rockstar Games, has filed multiple subpoenas in federal district courts seeking information related to the recent spread of GTA 6 gameplay videos. The company has petitioned both Microsoft and Discord for the release of any records related to various online accounts involved in posting and sharing leaks of the game ahead of its November launch. That includes
the GTA 6 leaks are completely unremarkable. I know, I'm pretty late to the party by now. Obviously, I heard the leaks have been happening again. Rockstar breathes, and everyone will write an article about us. But compared to a couple of years ago, where it was mildly interesting to see Jason and Lucia and early development footage, this is just more of the same, I guess. GTA 5 with a new coat of paint. It's funny that with all the fake AI slop floating around, that it turns out the actual thing doesn't look much different. If you're still hyped for it, great, I'm happy for you. It's your money and all that jazz. I'm also aware it's not supposed to be remarkable because the guy or team behind this have been showing mostly downtime in the open world rather than bombastic story moments. Still, I wasn't going to talk about it because I care as much about the leaks as I do buying a $1,000 paperweight come November to play it. That is not at all. But curiosity did get the better of me, and earlier I watched all 6 of the currently released videos from the Cyber Leak team. So let's chat about it. Before I get into that though, I want to make a few things clear. First of all, if you're stupid enough to buy into the blindingly obvious pump and dump crypto bullshit the hacker is pushing, you'll only have yourself to blame. Whether it's one guy or a team, it really doesn't matter, because they can plaster as many pro-consumer messages over the footage as they like. You're an idiot if you think Cyber Leak is genuinely interested in physical media or sticking it to the man. It's a scheme to get rich quick and then get out. They have about as much interest in you as Take-Two does. Advertising spots now? Really? Secondly, I have a sneaking suspicion that the build they have isn't the full game. The assumption floating around is that it's from 2025 and obviously not finished. But while I wouldn't go so far to say that it's just video footage like that kid from a couple of years ago and not the actual build, the fact they've just shown Jason messing around in the city suggests it may be a test build, and we may never know how exactly the team got a hold of it. I doubt Rockstar would want to come out and own up to that publicly, but while it's a nice touch, they removed the button prompts to make it harder to identify. I'll go out on a limb here and say that it's most likely a test build from QA, maybe for something like smoke testing. And the reason why they haven't shown Lucia or any major story spoilers yet, because they genuinely can't access it, if it's even in the build to begin with. Happy to be proven wrong though. Like I said, I really don't care either way. Finally, as ambivalent as I am towards the hackers and the footage in general, I will say it's a pleasure to watch Take-Two's stock price plummet as all the executives, lawyers and shareholders holders panic. It's a happy byproduct or side effect of the leaks, sure, but that's what you fucking deserve. The digital-only release, GTA Plus memberships, the gross pre-order paywalled content, the Netflix exclusivity. Believe what you will about karma, but after all that's been happening with this the past few years, it's nice to see companies get a bite in the ass every once in a while. Anyway, let's finally talk about what was in the footage. To the surprise of no one, a lot of the superfluous crime mechanics are pretty much one-to-one from what they were in RDR2. The wanted or reporting system has been deepened that now the game and presumably NPCs will distinguish based on not just the location, but vehicle, face, and haircut, I'm assuming, as well as the clothes you're wearing. This is interesting enough, I guess. It's nice that Rockstar fleshed out the bandana system a bit more, but it's nothing crazy, and I expect the hiding and wanted level mechanics in general won't be that different from 5. Next up, it's a bit hard to see because the footage is so shit, but you might be able to make out at some points the iFruit logo in the corner of the minimap. I wonder if Rockstar will go to the effort of integrating the player's phone with a real-time map mechanic. Think the newer Naughty Dog games or Metro Exodus, where rather than being a separate part of the menu UI, the map, GPS, location updates and all that will be updated in real time within the actual phone you use. This is a small thing, but I do like it when developers go that extra mile to be more diegetic. A couple of times we see Jason pick up some kind of stimulant called Zombix. This appears to be some kind of health potion proxy over time, and there's a warning that pops up at one point to not overdose. Knowing Rockstar, they're probably scripted an entire system where Jason will wake up in the hospital after blacking out, or you have drug trips with aliens again or something. But considering it's modern day, especially the setting of Florida where it's a constant party, you just know the drug system is going to have the Australian Classification Board up in arms once again. Next thing, during the basketball footage, successfully shooting hoops triggers a pop-up about focus. Does this mean we'll be getting a return to the skills and fitness mechanics of 5 or San Andreas? Probably, given that official trailers have already shown Jason doing weights at the beach. The fact it's called Focus, too, suggests Jason and Lucia will have their own special abilities like the last game. I really don't care about that myself. Give me Max Payne bullet time and I'll be happy, but let's hope it can be something a little more creative than angry mode or driving better. While we're
Norman Smith is a mentally ill Nintendo fanboy and a man.
I just wanted some sauce on those zingers.
Skip it up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. A couple shameless plugs first and foremost. Make sure you... So there have been a few instances of footage leak throughout the years of GTA 6. The newest round isn't the first time this has happened. In September of 2022, a hacker leaked 90 clips of in-development gameplay, and that was considered one of the largest leaks in video game history. In December of 2023, the first official trailer leaked a day ahead of its planned schedule, forcing Rockstar Games to release the GTA 6 trailer early. And the current situation that Rockstar is currently dealing with is from a group calling itself CyberLeak. They're selling a shitcoin too, by the way. Make sure you invest in that. They published a bunch of gameplay clips, map screenshots, and footage showing features like driving, basketball, and flying over the city, which, especially because they were going to have a Netflix premiere of GTA 6 gameplay, Lord knows that Rockstar really wasn't happy about this leak at all, and they're out for blood. Probably literally. Well, let's see.
Oh, Timmy! Oh, no! It's Timmy's dad's eye! I'm respecting your privacy by knocking, but asserting my authority as your father by coming in anyway!
Oh, lordy. Okay, I didn't super see this one coming. I kind of saw it coming. Like, it's one of those things where I wasn't that surprised when it happened, but I still didn't see it coming. And then as things continued to develop, I certainly did not see this getting to the point that it's gotten to. I do think it's slightly hilarious that GTA 6 is the first, like, ultra AAA game to get leaked twice. Hey, maybe you should stop keeping games in development for 58 million years if you don't want them to leak multiple times. And I actually wasn't going to make a video about this because I didn't think I had anything to say about it. But then the more I thought about it, the more I realized I have a lot to say about it. So I won't bore you with the recap. I assume everyone who has an internet connection knows that GTA 6 is just out in the wild right now because apparently Rockstar just has Butterfingers a second time. You'd think they'd really crack down on stuff like this after the first one back in 21, 22, when the early build leaked. But now what appears to be the finished version or a version of the game that's very close to the finished version is just on a dude's computer right now, and he's been like drip feeding footage of it for the last like 3 days. Like, how do you let this happen twice? And in before Joe, he was like selling a meme coin and he was using GTA 6 to sell his meme coin. I don't care. I'm gonna be real with you. I can't even pretend to be upset about that. Just don't buy the damn meme coin. Take solace in the fact that the game that is actively ruining AAA gaming just had the biggest egg of all time slammed on its face by a random dude with a meme coin. That's objectively hilarious. And man, the bad news just keeps flowing from this. I love it. According to inside reports, Netflix is apparently furious about this because they thought everyone was gonna subscribe to Netflix to get the early look at GTA 6, because that's how far gone this industry is right now. Not only was the biggest game of all time being premiered behind a paid subscription service, but also now that paid subscription service is very upset that gamers get to see the video game that they're already pre-ordering. Ugh, can you imagine? The gall of those gamers wanting to see the game that they're being told to pay $100 for. Ooh, boy. And golly, are we glad that there isn't a physical copy of this game, because gosh, then the game might have leaked. Take-Two lost something like $2 billion in value because of this, which, just in case you guys want even more confirmation that all this shite is just made up. I'm sorry, how do you lose $2 billion in value from a gameplay leak? Like, I'm gonna need like the red string of that one explained. How does something that doesn't even exist yet have this much power in your company's value? It's so stupid. And as of a few hours ago, Take-Two has filed federal DMCA subpoenas against Microsoft and Discord to uncover the leaker. And I have to say, you didn't see this coming. You openly go against what gamers want. You start charging out the butt for a game that you like literally refuse to show them. You take away physical copies. You openly talk about how you're not going to discount the game. You openly talk about how you want people to subscribe to a completely unrelated subscription model so they can watch the thing a little bit early, many moons after you put the thing on sale and demand money for it. And all of this is for a product that literally this same thing happened a few years ago. An in-development build of GTA 6 leaked years ago. So not only did you not take the proper precautions to make sure this didn't happen a second time, but apparently you didn't think anyone would even try this a second time after all the stuff that you've done. And what's really funny is the leaker, last I heard, was threatening to release the ending of the game. He was threatening to spoil the game, which I think is hilarious because I can already tell you how this game ends. Like, it's a Rockstar game made after 2003, so the main character is gonna die. Like, you didn't need a leaker to tell you that. One or both of the protagonists are gonna die at the end. It's a fucking Rockstar game. My money is on the dude, and my second place money is on both of them. There's no way that the gal is the only one who dies. So it's either just gonna be the dude or they're both gonna die Thelma and Louise style. Like, that's just how it is. You didn't, and I'm not even a leaker. And I also love that apparently the footage that he's been leaking is from a native PC version of the game. Just spit in your consumer's face even more. Yeah, man, we can't release the game on PC. We can't do that, guys. It's not ready yet. Really? Then why did a PC version of the game just leak?
When you end up getting out there and there's a...
Or even better yet, hey Rockstar, the PC version of the game leaked. leaked. Why don't you just announce the PC version of the game now instead of doing this stupid, acting like nobody knows what's going on? Do you think you can announce the PC version yet? Everyone knows the PC version exists now. Why are you being coy about its existence?
The funny, when, I guess, the fortunate, can we just sort of...
Ball and gun gamers have fucking ruined this industry. Also, I'm not going to show the footage of the, I'm not going to show the GTA 5 gameplay that's been going around. I've watched a whole lot of it. I mean, you can, if you open Twitter at all, it's just all over the place. You can't get away from it, which makes the subpoenas even funnier. Because, Take-Two could be using this to their advantage. They could be like, hey, it's leaking. We might as well start the marketing now. We might as well start the gameplay reveals now. But instead, you're filing subpoenas and just letting the spread get even worse. Come on. Again, defend your IP, defend your product. 100%, you're totally in your right to do that. But when people say you kind of brought it on yourself, this is what they're talking about. You kind of did this one to yourself because you pissed people off so much that you kind of brought it on yourself. And now, even as you're staring down the barrel of the thing that you brought on yourself, you're still not even handling the root of the problem seriously. Acknowledge your consumers. Acknowledge their criticisms. But also the gameplay. Oh my goodness, the gameplay. I'm not gonna put it on screen. Actually, you know what? I will put it on screen. Here's some GTA 6 gameplay. You see what I did there? You see how you see how the footage on screen is actually just modded GTA 5? GTA 6 literally just looks like modded GTA 5. I thought they were at least gonna try something, but there's nothing new or interesting about this. It's just GTA 5 with some stuff from Red Dead thrown in, some Red Dead mechanics. That's it. This is what they're charging $100 for. This is what they needed a decade to make. This is what they think is gonna be so amazing and wonderful that you have to subscribe to Netflix to see it a little bit early. This is how up themselves Rockstar and Take-Two are. They think that not only can they get away with doing everything that gamers hate, with actively pushing the industry in the wrong direction because they want to make money off ball and gun gamers, and they will literally sacrifice the entire industry in order to do that. But at the end of the tunnel, the game that they're giving you and the game that's supposed to be justification for all this, it's just the same game again. I truly am gobsmacked. My gobs are smacked. I don't know how we got here. Well, I do know how we got here. It's ball and gun gamers. Gaming went mainstream, and then ball and gun gamers were invented by Mr. Ball and Gun Gamer, and now we're here. I honestly, genuinely hope the build that Mr. Leak has been posting footage of, I genuinely hope it gets spread. I want this thing spread all around the internet. People ask in the comments, what are we supposed to do? We don't want GTA 6 to be the catalyst for all these terrible things. What are we supposed to do about it? This is what we're supposed to do about it. You want a weapon to fight back against AAA gaming? Here is your weapon. I want this build of the game to get spread around the internet like a LimeWire virus in 2001. You want a weapon to use against AAA gaming? This is the weapon. And I am so hoping that Mr. Leak recognizes that. I think Mr. Leak is kind of playing it coy right now. I think he's trying to drip feed the leaks to see if his big list of demands will be met, and also so he can sell a bunch of his meme coins. But at the end of the day, I'm really hoping his final swing is just distributing this thing. I genuinely, truly want that to happen because Rockstar and Take-Two and the whole AAA industry 100% deserve this. Doofus Club time. The Warlock Redcast wants.
The PlayStation blackout starts today, and Sony has known this was coming for a full month. They had weeks to respond to the community, extinguish the fire, and show gamers they actually care. They had time to draft a statement, offer an olive branch, or literally do anything to put water on the fire. So do you know what they spent the last few days doing to win us back and try to stop people from leaving the brand? You're not going to believe this. Right before August 23rd, Sony started blasting out emails to millions of users, updating and reminding everyone of their unbelievably anti-consumer terms of service. I mean, check your inbox right now. If you have a PlayStation account, there's a very good chance you'll find this exact email sitting right there. Here's the short version of what Sony essentially just reminded us. You don't own your digital games. You're just renting a temporary license that can be revoked whenever they feel like it. If your account gets banned or closed, all your games are instantly gone, even the ones you paid full price for. PlayStation has the right to record your voice chats, capture video clips, and log your IP address without you even knowing it. Those gameplay clips you share, Sony can put ads on them, monetize them, or sell them, and you get absolutely no cut of the profit. Their legal liability is capped at $100. That means if Sony screws something up on their end, and it costs you thousands in lost content, the absolute most they will ever pay you back is a single £100 note, regardless of your actual losses. I wish I was joking. I really wish I was. But this is the exact message that Sony is sending people right now, as the blackout begins. You literally cannot make this stuff up. It is so widely tone deaf that it actually makes me laugh out loud. Who is running PlayStation right now? Do they have any idea what they're doing? Or do they actively want to see PlayStation brand crash and burn? Because what they just did is simply dumping gasoline on a raging fire. It most likely just convinced a massive wave of people to join the blackout, even if they weren't originally planning to. PlayStation is so disconnected from reality. It's genuinely shocking. And speaking of a company getting a taste of their own medicine, CyberLeak just went full Joker mode. He just reminded us all of that iconic quote, "It's not about the money, it's about sending a message." The GTA 6 leaker literally just burned $1 million worth of crypto. If you don't fully understand what that means, he could have cashed out a cool $1 million into his bank account right now. But instead, he permanently destroyed those tokens on the blockchain, so he can never sell them. Now, of course, this doesn't mean CyberLeak isn't making any money off this. He openly stated that the transaction fees he collects are going toward a secret upcoming project. You're going to have to trust his word on that. But, nevertheless, burning $1 million is a massive flex. It's a huge statement to prove he's not just pulling a cheap crypto scam, and it shows he might actually have a bigger motive behind his actions. This is all happening while Rockstar Games is reaching pure desperation mode. Rockstar is so panicked right now, trying to track down the leaker, that they are going after CyberLeak's fan-made suspended X accounts.
Is just waking up every day and like, you know what? We're already not in the good graces of our consumers. What can we do today to piss them off even more? Like, what can we do to really, like, we already getting rid of physical media starting in 2028. They already hate us for that, not necessarily because they just want to collect physical media, because we don't give them any rights with the digital games that they purchase. What is something else that we could do to really make them angry? I know. Let's remind them that they don't own their digital purchases by resending out our end user license agreement, which says clearly that they don't own digital purchases. That sounds like an awesome idea. Fantastic, great, beautiful, tremendous, bigly, smart thing to do. And that's what Sony did. That's what they did. So as we know, this week, starting on the 23rd to the 30th, a full week, there is going to be a PS blackout campaign. Now, what it covers is right here. So for 1 week, don't play on PlayStation. Don't buy games. Don't make in-game purchases. Skip PS Store purchases. Skip logins and purchases. Cancel, avoid subscriptions if you can. Support physical games and preservation. So just don't unplug your PlayStation 5 or PS4 if you're still on PS4. They're basically telling you do not do a damn thing with it. So if you really want to make sure and you want to participate in this, just unplug the damn system. Well, shut it down properly, or else it'll scream at you, the PlayStation 5, and just unplug your system, because that's essentially what they're telling you to do. So yeah, a lot of people are angry about Sony getting rid of physical media, with us having no recourse to protect our rights with digital goods. So Sony decides to send out the end user license agreement that you automatically opted into, and let people know that you don't own your digital goods, and it sucks if you wanted to own them. This comes from Kotaku. So this is an EU email that was sent out. You recently accepted the following PlayStation terms of service, PlayStation Code of Conduct, PlayStation EULA, privacy policy, blah, 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 blah. And this is something we opted into back in April of 2026. Now, the email goes over what is in the end user license agreement, and this is what it has to say about your digital goods that you purchase through PSN. This is from section 1.4 of the EULA from Sony. The software is licensed to you, not sold. Like, just starts right out the gate. Now, here's the thing. I'm well aware that this has been in EULAs from companies like Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo for a very long time, so this is nothing new. But for them to send this out and make it abundantly clear, again, especially with all the ire that is coming Sony's way for them getting rid of physical media with their games, having them send out their EULA via email showing this and amplifying the situation and accelerating it and reminding people that they don't own their digital goods with all the ire that's coming their way is a really, really, really bad look. Continuing here, you are granted a limited, non-exclusive, non-transferable, and personal license to play or use the software for your private, non-commercial use on the system or device it was intended for. This license is only effective from the indicated software release date, early access date, or beta release date. Any rights in the software that we do not say are granted to you in this license are reversed, including all intellectual property in the software. So there you go. There's another friendly reminder from Sony that if you buy something digitally from them, you don't own it. Screw you. Oh, you bought thousands upon thousands of dollars of games or movies? We just saw them do it with Studio Canal. There was a license lapse, and if you bought Studio Canal movies, doesn't matter, you thought you bought them, you didn't. And the license, Sony doesn't have the license, so those games were removed from your library. Something you thought you bought that when you saw on the screen, when you were buying it through your PlayStation console where it said buy, you think when something says buy, you buy it. Nope. No, we can do whatever the hell you want. You want a refund? Get out of here. You ain't getting a refund. Even though we said buy, even though you thought you were buying it, you agreed to our end user license agreement. Deal with it. This is why I keep saying the ship has sailed for physical media to stay mainstream. It sailed before 2013. 2013 in the States is when digital distribution first outpaced games being bought physically. That was the moment we should have really fought for physical media to stay around. But what we need to do now